How
How's
you doing?
your little one doing?
Miles is
Yeah,
good. He is back at home now. Thank goodness.
that's good.
And we got released yesterday around 11, I would say.
Hmm. Okay.
Still doing a little bit of the antibiotics at home and some of the nebulizers because we've got our own at home from when he was a baby. But nice to be back in the comforts of our own home.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
did I tell you the stories that went down in A&E when we first
Yeah.
went in?
No.
Oh, it's wild in there.
Mm-mm.
It's just wild. I'll have to tell you
You-
some of the stories, but we
Yeah,
went in on Thursday evening.
you are live, by the way. So just in case you
I
want
know,
to,
I know.
just in
Um,
case.
no, I just talked about it on the air. But
Okay.
it's what we saw, and what we heard was like they should do a show. They should follow the men and women of the
Of the ER.
HSA of ER around it. It would be probably a wildly popular show. They don't get enough credit for what they do. I don't think.
Mm, interesting.
Yeah,
How spectacular is that?
yeah. I think they
Oh my God,
it
that would
was
be
it was
interesting.
pretty wild in there, and it was early too on a Thursday. It was like 8 o'clock at night. So that wasn't even like middle of the night when things go wrong.
Hmm.
Usually, nothing good happens after midnight.
Hmm.
So, all right, we're going to go in about 30 seconds here, just doing a little bit of traffic,
Okay,
and we'll get some headlines.
sounds good.
All right, here we go.
Yeah, you got to give me some specifics about the ER story.
Big news. I have some important news for you.
Interesting news.
It's Blake and Aaron's Spilling the Tea with Sandy.
Cayman's top news headlines of the day from CMR.
Good morning, Sandy. How are you?
Good morning, Blake. How you doing?
We are good. We are good. What's happening with headlines this morning?
Glad to see you back in the studio.
Yeah.
So the Minister of Health has finally caught the COVID.
Oh no.
Got the COVID. Yeah. So sorry for her, but she's doing okay. Mild symptoms.
Was she
Nothing.
at Capella? Or-
No, I don't think so. She probably caught it from the kids camp that she's been hosting.
Hmm, gotcha.
All those kids. So yeah, so she's all right. Three people have been arrested after the police seized a gun in town last week. We actually have the footage on this one. I was wondering when the story was going to come out. Two women were arrested on Friday at a residence in Tropical Gardens.
Okay.
And a man. So the next search warrant was executed by the RCAPS, where they recovered a loaded handgun and a quantity of ganja. So they've arrested a 26-year-old man, a 45-year-old woman, and an 18-year-old woman as well.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty crazy.
Hmm.
So we'll keep an eye on that situation. Jamaica's making waves all over the place at the 2022 World Championship. They have Jamaican Sherry-Ann Fraser-Price has won her fifth 100-meter world title at the age of 35 years old.
What?
So yeah, I know, it's pretty crazy. So the mom of one, this is like amazing for her to still be winning gold. Yeah.
That's amazing.
So I know. She beat out Sharika Jackson by just 0.06 seconds. So Sharika came in second place, and then Thompson Herrera finished a surprising third at 10.81. So,
How old is Sariq?
oh gosh, I think she's probably half the age. Not she's pretty young. So yeah, so everybody's like Jamaica, the triple, triple winner there. So
That's
they
awesome.
basically they've been cleaning up. So everybody's definitely paying attention to them. Sharika was born in 1994.
Okay.
So yes, in other news, CIDB, which is the Cayman Islands Development Bank, is jumping in on the mortgage crises from the perspective of trying to help people secure mortgages, Caymanians. It says it has set aside some $15 million to lend to Caymanian mortgage seekers who qualify for rates as low as 3.75% for 2 years, which they say is significantly below the current prime rate. So just the ability to lock in a rate, I think, is a good concept. So they're offering this for 2 years and mortgages for up to $600,000 for up to 30-year terms. So if you're interested in finding out more about that, definitely contact CIDB.
Okay.
Yep.
Awesome.
And the government is also launching a nationwide cost of living support campaign. So included in this, they're going to continue to offer the displaced tourism worker stipend, reducing service fees for seniors, increasing funding of scholarships for advanced and specialized tertiary education, and more recently, the electricity relief bill and the extension of the public pension holiday. So these are some of the things that they have done. By the way, the stipend, just to be clear, they're not continuing it. It's something that they continued. So, yeah, it's now ended. So basically, this is just a press release to acknowledge what they have done to try to assist people with the cost of living.
Got it.
Mm-hmm. And congratulations, lots of sporting activities all over the place for summer. Cayman has sponsored the Carrera Cup, which made its debut in Canada, in Toronto. So the Porsche Carrera Cup North America, presented by the Cayman Islands. Nice little car, too. The colors was really nice and beautiful, with Cayman Islands logo on it, and sponsored by Cayman. So that was on Sunday, July the 17th. So this past Sunday.
Yeah, and I haven't had a chance to talk about it, but Aaron Jarvis is doing amazing.
Oh, yes.
Well, I mean, that guy.
We posted him up at 4:00 this morning because he's gotten a little medal for
did he?
for doing so well.
Yeah, he's an incredible young man, and
Yeah.
doing so well, making Cayman proud on the world stage. Pretty incredible. What
Yeah,
he's doing out there on the golf course.
Yeah, I mean, even just qualifying was amazing enough. And yeah, so we're wishing him all the best, and just, keeping it positive.
All righty.
Yep, he got the amateur bronze medal at the 2022 British Open for making the cut. So the Caymanian golfer, received the amateur bronze medal. So congrats.
Yeah, I guess if you win, there's this cup that's been around since the 1800s, and you're supposed to drink from it. And it's been full of many different things. I'm not sure that they ever wash it. I don't know, but everybody sips from that cup. So anyway, if you don't win, you don't have to sip from the cup.
Yeah, that might be a good thing right now.
Silver lining there, not winning.
Yeah.
All right, that's Sandy's show right now on Bobo 89.1 FM, and we'll see you tomorrow for the Wednesday headlines. All right.
Have a good one.
You too.
All right, folks, let's get the show started here. 4, 3, 2, 1, 1.2.
Peppermint, sorrel, ginger, beaver grass, or English. Get it ready. Your morning tea just got hotter.
Ooh, honey child.
On the cold, hard truth. Bobo 89.1 and Cayman's #1 talk show are bringing you morning talk like no one else. Monday Rewind, Impact Wednesdays, Caribbean Connections, and much more. Don't miss a beat with what's happening in the local community. Just keep sipping your tea.
What a mess.
Here's your host, live and direct from the Cayman Islands, Sandy Hill.
All right. Good morning, folks. Happy Tuesday. It is, let me just check the date, July the 19th, 2022. We got a lot to talk about here today. So much is going on around the world. Good morning to everyone. How are you guys doing? I'm just downloading the morning news, trying to make sure I get the right one this time. I think what I need to do is always change the date on it. So today is the 19th. We're going to get it. for the 19th today. Ooh, it's kind of downloading in a strange way. I wonder why. How's everybody doing? Look like y'all are getting a slow start to your morning today. What is shaking? Anything new and exciting? Oh my goodness. You guys got to get up in the mornings. I know some days you just don't feel like doing it. Some days it is a struggle. You just don't want to do it. So we got the NRA coming up around 9 o'clock this morning. Happy to have them on the program. So they're going to be coming on once a month just to keep us updated on what is shaking in the world of, road works and all the other things that the NRA is responsible for. So I think this is good. I think more government agencies and departments need to come in the program. The one that I would really, really love to see is the needs assessment unit, because, oh my God, I get so many complaints about them. Never anything positive. Up to yesterday, I got another complaint. I was like, oh my gosh, if they knew the amount of PR, a positive PR that they need to clearly be doing, because I don't believe that everything they do is problematic or wrong or whatever. But I think, as the deputy governor said the last time he was in the program, no more silent, victories. In other words, when you're doing something good, shout it from the rooftop so that people will know, because if people don't know, then they just don't know. It's as simple as that. So I want to talk about a couple of things this morning. Going to headline with what was popping off mostly on Instagram yesterday, but I feel like this is worth a conversation so that our radio listeners do not miss out, because, it's so bizarre because we have these conversations sort of on social media. And then I try to be cognizant of the fact that some of you don't have social media. And so I don't want you to be missing out on anything. So, we kind of bring the conversation to you. So we're going to be talking about that this morning. It was hot yesterday on social media. Oh my gosh. A gazillion comments and people getting all upset with me. And then when they get upset with me, they want to name call and all this madness. And, I don't mind you having a difference of opinion. But when you start just trying to get personal with me, name calling, that's when I exercise the block button, because I just don't tolerate it. And boy, some people get very, oh my gosh, it's like they can't stay on conversation. They can't stay on point. It's like, let's talk about the issues. And they think the easiest way to address the issues is try to make it a personal attack. And that's when I say, no, not today, Bobo. That's not going to work. So we're going to be talking about that here in the morning. You'll see all the stuff that you've been missing. Let's see who's with us this morning. Good morning to Hero Bishop Blair. He says that it's already a warm Tuesday morning to everyone. Keep cool today. Miss Rita is here. Buenos dias. Good morning to Benji. Damien says, is your CEO pendant backwards? Oh gosh, Damien. Yes. How on earth did that happen? Thank you for the observation, but it certainly is. It is engraved with my name on the one side, but you're absolutely right. That's my coat of arms. I can't be wearing the coat of arms backwards. Come on now. And I purposely picked this today because of today's topic of conversation, but you guys know I wear the coat of arms all the time. I actually have a beautiful flag. Big shout out to David over at Prodigy Jewelers. He made me a custom Cayman flag that, oh my God, it is so gorgeous, but it's so special to me that I don't wear it as much as I do this one. So I tend to wear the coat of arms quite frequently. Guys, David at Prodigy does a lot of custom work. He's actually made me a Cayman marbled pendant that is also very, very gorgeous. So I feel so fortunate to have, sometimes I feel like he's my personal jeweler. He really isn't, but I'd be like, he totally surprised me with the CMR pendant. I had no clue. So because the conversation's a little hot today, I decided to brew myself some tea chill. So I have, this one is an immune booster tea by Yogi. I forget exactly the name of it, but it's immune booster with, what does it have in it? Some plant that's supposed to be good for the immune system. So, with COVID hitting the ground running again, I want to make sure that I try to stay as healthy as possible. I'm going to go get another booster this week. So this will be my second booster, but my fourth shot. So this one has a little thing in the back. It says, uncage your heart, Free your heart. Let it be wild. Ooh, honey chill. They're not going to tell me to be wild. So I'm enjoying this with a little chips of honey. Yes. Nice and brewing and hot. So good morning to Alice. Thanks, Damien, for that, for noticing that. Good morning to Miss Sanya. The beautiful Miss Sanya is here. Evelyn is also here talking about the heat in London. Let's talk about that heat in London. Vernita, KK is here. KK says he's a great jeweler. The heat in London is apparently unbearable. And not only is it unbearable, but it is literally melting the parking lots and runways at the airport. So yesterday there was an airport in, hold on, let me get the name of it. So the UK suspended flights at the London Luton Airport. They made the announcement on Twitter, and it said that, it was able to resume operations on Monday evening after 6 p.m. And why? They did it because apparently they said the runway was literally melting as temperatures soar above 37 degrees Celsius, which is above 99 degrees Fahrenheit. So speaking of that, apparently, let me just pull up my notes here. I woke up at 4 o'clock this morning and I had said, oh, let me read the news, honey, chill. What's going on in the world? I feel like that's the worst thing to do, that I should just go back to bed. But nonetheless, I said, let's see what's going on. And of course, one of the first articles to come up was about the temperature in London. It went up to 100 and, oh, hold on. Where did I put this? Hold on. It might be on my phone. I think it was 102 point something, which is actually a record for the UK. When I say record, I mean like forever, ever record. Hottest day on record. Let me see here. I might have it in my phone. Oh Lord, where on earth was I reading this? Was it all in my head? Okay, let me see. I think all right, let me look it up. Let me just look up real quick and I'll tell you. All right, so it's 102 degrees, yes, in London right now. It's 1 p.m. And they say extreme weather forecast, the hottest day on record is temperature passes 40 degrees Celsius for the first time. It's trending all over the world. So it actually went up to 40.2, and that is the highest. This is recorded at Heathrow, the highest that it has ever been. Isn't that crazy? So Britain has recorded its highest ever temperature as the 40 degrees Celsius mark. I think in Fahrenheit. So to me, I'm thinking 40 degrees doesn't sound that bad, but when you translate that over, I'm like, ooh, honey child, that's hot. Previously broken for the first time at Heathrow Airport. The previous record, which was at 38.7 degrees Celsius, it was in 2019. And it fell first when 39.1 degrees was provisionally recorded on Tuesday morning at, where's this, Charlwood in Surrey. And then at about 12:50 p.m., 40.2 degrees was reported. Now, for those of you who think in terms of, I noticed that the British publications they don't actually, they don't ever translate that, but in the American publications obviously do. That is 102 degrees. That is really hot. What is it? What's the record for Cayman? I don't think we've ever been at 102 degrees even here. At least we kind of have maybe a little bit of ocean breeze. Like you take 102, how big of a place is Heathrow in terms of the concrete jungle? Because normally the feel like temperature is way worse than that. Like it's 102 degrees, but it feels like 120 or whatever. Especially areas that have a lot of concrete and buildings and so on. They deal with heat differently. So this is a deadly heat wave that is roasting Europe, it says, reaching historic levels across Britain, with schools and public transportation services alike disrupted by the soaring temperatures. And child, they are just not used to the weather. So, they're like, what? All new record high was set in the United Kingdom today. Temperatures were forecast to soar higher. I'm sorry for you guys. As the day went on, as an epic heat wave continued to roast most of Europe. So the UK Met Office said on Tuesday that it was the highest temperature ever recorded in the UK, and it was observed in the English capital. London's Heathrow Airport reported temperature of 104 degrees Fahrenheit shortly before 1 p.m. local time. Temperatures in London typically climb to about 70 degrees Fahrenheit during the middle of July. Wow, that's a huge difference, actually. Not only was the reading of 104 degrees at all new high for the UK, but officials said it was also the first time in recorded history that the country had eclipsed 40 degrees Celsius. The temperature at Heathrow eclipsed the previous all-time record that had been set earlier Tuesday in the village of Charlwood, England, located in southeastern part of the country. And so 102.4 degrees Fahrenheit. Wow. That's crazy. So they're saying that this is a deadly heat wave, and it has already smashed records in much of Europe last week. And it's intensifying in the entire region. Now listen to this. Here's how this translates in real terms, right? The brutal heat has been blamed for more than 1,000 deaths in Spain and Portugal. Wow. After temperatures soared there above 100 degrees Fahrenheit in both countries. The intense heat is also roasting France, where wildfires have forced thousands to flee in the southwestern part of the country. And two major all-time heat records were smashed Monday in Liverpool, England, and where is this? Hawarden, Wales. Is that how it's pronounced? Do feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. Where's my pronunciation police? Soka. All right, in Liverpool, it went up to 96.8 degrees Fahrenheit, recording a new record. And the record previously was 94.1 degrees Fahrenheit, which was set on August the 2nd of 1990, right? So the Hawarden Monday high was 98.8 degrees Fahrenheit. That also broke a record that was set on August the 2nd of 1990 when it reached 95.4 degrees back then. It was so hot that officials had to shut down London's Luton Airport, where its lone runway melted, and passengers on one incoming flight from Italy were told that they were being diverted because of bits of tarmac melting on the runway, according to The Guardian. Just after 6 p.m. local time, the runway reopened to arriving and departing flights, according to the BBC. Wow. So also at the Royal Air Force Base in Oxfordshire, which halted flights out of Briz Norton Air Base on Monday because the runway again reportedly started warping due to the scorching heat. What the heck are they making their runways out of? I mean, I know it's hot, but wow, okay. It says that the worst of the heat will remain on the western and central areas of Europe, with the UK and France set to be the epicenter of some of the most extreme weather conditions, according to meteorologists. So red warning for extreme heat was in effect through Tuesday across a large area of the interior of England, including London. And the warning was the first of its kind ever issued by the Met Office. Can you believe that? The UK's weather service. It represents the highest threat level possible, as the Met Office warns of widespread impacts on people and infrastructure due to extreme heat. I wonder what this is going to do to the buildings. Wow. Elsewhere, amber warnings for extreme heat were in effect for the rest of England and much of southern Scotland through Tuesday, and amber warnings are one level of severity below the red warning system. So they said that population-wide adverse health effects that are not limited to those vulnerable to extreme heat are expected early this week. So folks, all I can tell you is we got a lot of friends and family in the UK, my husband's got family there, his aunt and cousins, and they've been there forever. I think they were actually born in the UK, some of them. So yeah, just I guess stay indoors, stay hydrated. If you have an air conditioner, make sure it's working properly, and just try to stay out of it. Now, the UK is not the only one that is being subjected to this severe heat. In America, one person recently died. There was a high profile person, I think he was an athlete, that after they completed the autopsy on him, they said that he died from heat stroke. Yeah, which is pretty crazy. So let me try to see if I can find this one. Hold on one second. We actually had video of the poor guy. Kevin, did I remember to send that to you to extract it? I can't remember now. I feel like I did. So this guy is a UPS worker, and they had another guy who died. What company did he work for? FedEx. There's another delivery guy who died. So a lot of the delivery guys who are literally out in the heat all the time, they're really feeling it. So there's one of a guy who passed out on somebody's porch. And of course, the Ring camera caught it. Let me just see where this video is. So the Ring camera caught the entire action. Oh, yes, here it is. Which is a little bit crazy. But the homeowner didn't even know until after the fact. So the homeowner said, he was checking his Ring camera kind of later on and made the observation that what's going on my porch? People don't, sometimes your Ring camera is always going off. You don't always look at it in real time. But lo and behold, the guy starts stumbling up to the door and he just literally fell over. I got to show you guys this because it's unbelievable. When you see it, you're just like, what? And so he sat there for a little bit. And then, I guess he got enough strength to get up and just kind of stumble away. So Arizona, parts of California, the heat wave is just crazy. So put this in perspective. In the UK, they have been tracking weather for 363 years. So this record high is a 363-year high for them. Now, it may not be the highest ever in history. Maybe back when the dinosaurs existed millions of years ago, it was hot then too. Who knows, right? But we wouldn't have felt that then. So let me just see here if I can get this video going, because you guys are going to be shocked when you see this poor guy. Poor thing. Just super challenging for people to be dealing with this kind of heat. Listen, I'm feeling the heat here, and I don't even know what the temperature in Cayman is at the moment, but I'm pretty sure it's not that bad, right? So let us see here if we can pull this one up. So let me see. Where's the weather? Hold on. So good morning to everybody else who's joining us. Don't you hate when you save something in your computer, then you have no idea where it just saved it? You're like, where did it go? Okay, I see where I put it. All right, 1 second here. So yes, it's important even here in Cayman to make sure that you stay dehydrated, folks. It's really no joke. This is not something that you want to be messing around with. All right, check out this video.
I was concerned for the fact that he was, stumbling coming to the door.
Brian Enriquez was at work on Thursday when he received a Ring doorbell notification. He couldn't get to his phone right away, something that he now regrets. Captured on his doorbell's video, a UPS driver struggling to walk to the door and then collapsing on his porch. Brian thinks the heat got to him.
Had I gotten to my phone sooner, I could have talked to him through my ring, but he had already left the property at that point.
As you can see, the driver is able to get back on his feet, rings the doorbell, and then walks off unsteadily. As soon as he saw the video, Brian called Scottsdale police to check on the driver. In a statement, UPS tells 12 News, "We appreciate the concern for our employee and can report that he's fine. UPS drivers are trained to work outdoors and for the effects of hot weather." They go on to say that the driver reached out to his manager after leaving Brian's house and got help. For Brian, that's good news.
Want to make sure that these guys are safe, and with this heat, they don't have AC in those trucks. His safety is my concern.
Yeah, so absolutely crazy. Poor guy was so worried. He's like, "Oh my God, what if this guy died after making my UPS package delivery?" Right? So, everybody's covering this story. They're saying that in May, France experienced the hottest May on record as well. And so, yeah, it's just a thing. So they said, imagine, just to put this in perspective, right? Normally London, which is considered a high altitude city, doesn't experience these types of temperatures. And so they say that imagine this happening. The first time that they started keeping track of the weather in a serious note was in 1659. Okay. So people like Queen Victoria, Charles Darwin, William Shakespeare, Henry VIII, they never faced a 40 degrees Celsius or 102 point whatever degree Fahrenheit day. They've never had to, their wigs would have probably melted back then. So one person says that the nation was not built to withstand this sort of heat. Its homes, workplaces, roads, rails, hospitals, and infrastructure were constructed for temperate weather. Shakespeare's other Eden, demi-paradise, not this inferno. You might have wanted to speak to Dante about his inferno. So again, having such extensive new records is really quite something for the UK. They said that it's just shocking. First time in almost 400 years that they've reached such a thing. So I guess we'll continue to monitor it. They do say that back in the prehistoric times, like I said, before instrument reading, scientists think that there may have been, higher temperatures when they look at things like lakes and marine sediment, ice cores and corals and glaciers and so on, or even bugs that are now found and tree rings, that, temperatures may have been higher about 2,000 years ago. So during the medieval warm period, which happened between 750 and 1350. But it's probably still not as hot as the late 20th and early 21st century, most scientists say. Isn't that crazy? It says that, and it's so interesting how they conclude certain things. So it says that the medieval Doomsday Book, completed in 1086, so they were talking about doomsday from back then, as kind of a census, tallied 45 vineyards in Britain, as far north as York. And so it was warm enough to grow grapevines, a tradition brought to the island by the ancient Romans. So at that point, it was pretty warm. Then there was the Little Ice Age from 1300 to 1850, where the northern hemisphere grew colder again, and the warming and cooling was not caused by human emissions or greenhouse gases, but by the subtle tilt and wobble of the planet as it faced the sun. Mother Nature's always doing something. So we'll see. So it says here that some experts say that in the paleoclimate studies, it's possible that to top 21st century heat in Britain, you'd have to go back to the, oh my gosh, which one is this? Miocene climatic optimum, which is about 15 million years ago, when the world looked quite unlike today. And back then, the continents were bumping around, and there was different areas of sea and mountain ranges. There were mammals, but no humans. 15 million years ago, you might have found temperatures like what we're experiencing today. Well, thank God, at least we got a little bit of air conditioning. So how are y'all surviving the heat in Cayman? I mean, it is hot here. I go outside and I walk with my water bottle now because I got to stay hydrated. Don't want to be passing out. And I make sure my daughter's like hydrated. I'm like, drink your water, drink your water. You know, they're at school and, you know, you got to remember to put sunscreen on during camp and all this sort of stuff. So Jasara, good morning. We've got Irvelin says London is on fire. It is hot. My goodness, I feel for you. KK says that he's the best jeweler, speaking about David. Faith says, good morning. It's such a joy to be alive and well. God is amazing and worthy to be praised. Thank you, Faith. Positivity. We're going to bring that up next. Much needed. Felicia, good morning. Miss Morna Carol says, not just London, it's all over the UK. Yeah. Irvelin, who's in London, says it sure is. Don't know why I chose this time of year to come. Now I have canceled during some of the tours that I wanted to do. It's mad. Whoa. Yeah, because you don't want to be outside. Damien says, be careful and walk in pets and children barefoot. Do people walk around without shoes anymore if they can help it? Probably not. Boom Flick, good morning. Yes, Irvelin, good morning to Miss Joy. Diamond Princess is here. Irvelin says it does feel like it's probably 120 degrees. Thank you, Damien. A little historical fact for the Cayman Islands. Highest temperature ever recorded for the Cayman Islands was 94.5 degrees on September the 24th, 2004, less than 3 weeks after Hurricane Ivan. Oh my God, I can believe it. And they say it's because of the tree foliage being gone. Only 94.5? Gosh, I've thought it probably got hotter than that here. Irvelin says, I wanted to go to France, but with the fires and not enough fire trucks, I scrapped that plan. Gonna stay my butt home. Yes, chill. Relax. Michael says, don't believe anything written in The Guardian. Well, when it's confirmed by everybody else, Michael, I think you're safe to believe it. Benji says it's so hot that you can get a frying pan and crack an egg and bacon and it would cook itself. You mean in Cayman you can do that? I don't know if it's going to cook. You'd have to really be in some direct sunlight for that. Selvin says that there's also a solar storm expected to impact Earth as well. You know, we said this last week. There's so little that we know. We've only been on Earth a short amount of time compared to like the age of the Earth. So I feel like as human beings, we're experiencing certain things that we haven't experienced before, but it doesn't mean that they haven't happened to Earth. And we'll see how well we survive as a species. Like there's so much that definitely is at stake for us, but you know, we also make a contribution to the hot mess by way of climate change. And there was a whole discussion yesterday about climate change. And there was a guy who said that basically we're going to make ourselves extinct with climate change. And I thought, oh Lord, have mercy. That doesn't sound good. Let me see. Benji says you could probably burn some toast. Yeah, it's only 84 degrees right now. That's not too bad. Good morning to Christine. Yeah, everybody feeling sorry for the UPS guy. Yeah, there was another young guy. I want to say he worked for FedEx. He legitimately died. And early preliminary reports were that it was probably from a heat stroke. You know, heat strokes are for real. Like they will kill you. Let me just see who this is that I'm thinking of that died from heat stroke. One time I had, well, they don't in medicine they call it something else, but it was basically a heat stroke. And I didn't even think it was that hot out. It was during election time, and I was out putting out some signs. This was many, many years ago. And then later on in the day, I went back home and I started just like throwing up all over the place. And I was like, oh my God, what's wrong? And the room started spinning. I've never had an episode like that before or since that day. And wow, for those of you who suffer from vertigo and things spin, that is like the most uncomfortable feeling in the world. Luckily, I was close to my bed, so I was just able to make it to the bed and lie down. And then I had to call for help. I'm like, this is not normal. Something's wrong. Everything was just like spinning. And, you know, the first thing you think is, oh my God, my heart is giving out or something, right? So I go to the emergency room and they run a battery of tests. They check your heart and the whole works. And they're like, you're oh gosh, what is that supplement? People can take a supplement for it, but it's called creatine, I think. They were like, your creatine levels are quite high. Have you been working out and taking supplements? And I'm like, first of all, I chuckled at the time. I was like, do I look like I'm working out to you, honey? Chill. I said, no, I don't really take supplements. What do you mean? And they said, well, we do see this elevated in gardeners a lot, people who are out in the sun. Have you been out in the sun recently? And I thought about it. I'm like, yeah, like yesterday for like just a couple hours, I was putting out some signs, but I didn't think it was that big of a deal. And so it looks like I might have a little bit of a sensitivity to like being out in direct sun in the middle of the day. And so they said, yeah, that's probably not a good idea. And I was like, really? So they had to pump me full of fluids in the emergency room and just monitor my vitals for a little bit until that creatine level started to like, I guess, I don't know, just sort itself out. And they said, yeah, some people, you know, people of color, by the way, we need to be wearing sunscreen. I know a lot of us don't because we think we can't get a sunburn and all this sort of stuff. But they were like, yeah, you need to just be careful because this is a sort of thing that can unintentionally kill you and you don't even know it. And I thought, wow, that's crazy. So I, for one, even when I go to the beach, I wear a hat. I don't really stay out too long, but heat stroke can definitely be something that can be very, very dangerous. So, you know, your body has a way of trying to regulate its own temperature. And when it can't do that, you know, because of extreme heat, then you can actually have a heat stroke that can damage your organs and even cause death. So, folks, record-breaking temperatures this summer across the US as well. So let's just make sure that we encourage everyone to be as careful as possible. So sometimes you just feel exhausted. And even don't forget our little furry pets. You know, they can get their paws burnt and they can die from heat strokes and heat related things as well. And this is why I've never really supported people who just keep their dogs outside. I'm like, imagine what the feel like temperature is outside. And your poor dog with fur is having to deal with that. Unbelievable. And most y'all don't even be giving the poor dogs fresh water. You know, keep the dogs inside in the air conditioning or at least in areas where the temperature is below 80 degrees. Anytime you see a dog panting, because dogs don't sweat, that is an indication that they are overheated. So yes, this is an American football player. His name is Marion Barber. He died from a heat stroke. So this made news a couple days ago, last week. So the Collin County medical examiner ruled that Marion Barber III died from a heat stroke. And he was in Texas where the police found him. He was a former Cowboys running back, dead inside his apartment on June the 1st. And they went to conduct a welfare check. He was only 38 years old. So they said that one of the bathtub faucets in his apartment was running when officers arrived. And the unit's temperature was set to 91 degrees with the heat set to on. And officers found exercise equipment in the unit. So I don't know Yes, this is what they said, which to me is so crazy. But they said Mr. Barber was known to exercise in sauna-like conditions. So some people do this because they think they lose more weight and they remove toxins they clean from the body. So he was working out. He set his AC heat on, and when they got there, the temperature was 91 degrees. And it looks like, unfortunately, that was not a good thing. Wow, that's crazy. Trust me, you do not need to exercise in heat, folks. That's just unbelievably crazy. So a 24-year-old UPS driver in Pasadena, California, 2 weeks ago died. Probably, they say, from heat exhaustion. He again was delivering packages in the LA area. And a day after his 24th birthday, he was delivering a package in Pasadena on Saturday when he collapsed, and they believe he died from a heat stroke. Temperatures in Pasadena were in the upper 90s on that day. And they said that apparently he'd passed out in his truck in the early afternoon, and there was a 20-minute gap before anyone noticed and called for help. So given his age and everything else, the preliminary reports are probably that it was just heat stroke. Mm-mm-mm. And do those UPS trucks have air conditioning in them? I don't even know, but I'm kind of thinking about that. So yeah, poor guy. Morning, Louie. Vernita says that's why people leave boxes full of water and Gatorade, etc. Irvlin says it's hard to breathe outside right now. Good morning to Gina. Vernita says, though I have to say that road temperatures are so high because lots of councils. Oh, sorry. I'm saying Vernita, but this is Verity. My apologies. Lots of councils chopped down all the trees due to health and safety. And that's why they did in my town. And now we're planting because it's proven to reduce street temperature if trees are along the roads. Yeah, trees are very important for a number of different reasons. So morning, Miss Sue says, Sandy, they're not used to it and there are no AC in the care homes. I feel sorry for the elderly in them. We now know how uncomfortable it is when we have no power in the storms. Wow. So in your care homes in the UK, you have no air conditioning? Like, I can't even fathom that. Like, to me, that's just so weird. Because I've always lived in places that that had, air conditioning available. That's a bit unusual. Huh. Okay. Well, you see that let me transition to this conversation that was popping off yesterday on Facebook. So hold on, let me grab the video. Let me see here. Someone says here in WhatsApp that it's a dangerous weight loss gimmick. You only lose water, which you need to retain in order to not have a stroke. Someone else says, Sandy, this heat is no joke. Up to yesterday, CBC was doing physical training. And I know of one staff member that just got back to work after COVID and was out in the heat, and he had a tough time. Maybe we can do a shout out to these people, schools and coaches, et cetera, and remind them just how serious it is. Yes. I mean, it's hot here too. We'll do our at 9:00. We'll do our news and weather update with Kevin, but it's hot here as well. So I dare say, stay indoors as much as possible. I know that we've got kids outside and even adults, as that viewer to the program mentioned, who are outside doing camps and all sorts of stuff. But my God, hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. And at the heat of the day, which is like in the middle of the day, don't go outside. Right? Don't do it. Right now I'm doing it because Gianna is doing swimming lessons at 1:00. Other than that, I'm not out at those hours. I'm like, Even if I'm sitting in court, I'm like, phew, thank God for the air conditioning. Right. And that's just half an hour in the pool. And then we put on sunscreen and we're back at school. The good thing about her school is they do have a lot of foliage. So they're there for summer camp and they're out in the garden, but they do have a lot of foliage and stuff outside. But even with a lot of tree coverage, if you're running camps or you're at school programs or whatever, pay attention to the kids, because it could be really, really easy to pass out in this heat. So Benji says to the gas station staff, because they're outdoors, a lot of people work outdoors, construction workers and others, please be careful and just stay hydrated. Selvin said these European countries need more Caribbean workers that can deal with the heat. But let's be honest, Selvin, we're not reaching 104 here in Cayman either. So that's crazy heat. I don't know if you'd be able to survive that even as a Caribbean person. And like I said, here we have a little bit of the Caribbean breeze, the ocean surrounding us, a little bit cooler, I think. But yes, very, very important. Jonathan says now if it could only kill off the mosquitoes. Hey, Andine, she says, Medea, morning, my big friend, Sandy. Hello, Andine, how are you? Yes, gardening workers, anyone who works outside, please be extra, extra careful. Okay, so let's talk about this video that went viral yesterday. We do have the NRA that's going to be joining us in the last hour of the program. So another person says the UK is an old country and they do not do air conditioning in the older buildings. They're built for keeping heat in. They are unusually cold. Only recent builds have air conditioning. If you need to take a tour of the mother country, preferably in the autumn. Well, Lord, I'm definitely not going in the summer. That's for sure. Imagine Caribbean people like, I'm not going to go to Europe in the summer. It gets hotter. Okay, so Selvin says, let's have a professional on the program to talk about heat stroke. Kevin, if you're listening, link me up with somebody. Let's talk about it. I think that's really important. Lance is reminding us about Gamers Bay, the gaming tournament and convention, which is happening at the end of the month, July 30th through the 31st. Andine says that she was reading something in Arizona where this young lady died of a heat stroke as well. And she was like 31 years old. She went hiking and didn't bring water with her. That sounds like a suicide mission. And her boyfriend turned back continued the hike, and he lived and she died. Yeah, listen. Here comes the pronunciation police. She says, it's foliage. All right, Soka. So yes, I must say that, going hiking right now is not a good idea in any regards. Even if you have water, just don't do it. Stay indoors, folks. Early morning exercise, if you're going to do it outside when the temperatures are a little bit cooler, and late evenings. I see people legit running in the middle of the day. And I'm thinking, why? Why are you out there at midday running and like you can see all the sweat pouring? I'm like, you're going to pass out. Okay. There's a young man. I don't know who he is. Gotten a number of different sort of indications of who he might be, right? But he decided to do this TikTok video. I'm trying to see if I can pull it up now, where essentially he was criticizing Cayman for being, what did he say? I'm going to let you guys view it. Just give me 1 second. Let me see if I can find it. So he was claiming that Cayman is like one of the worst places in the world or something, and he's only here for the money. Okay. When I first saw it, when the person sent it to me, I'm going to tell you what my exact words were to them. I said, oh, this looks like somebody who's really just trying to get some attention. Because I look at him and I'm like, money? do you even have a job? I mean, maybe you're making money some other ways, but you don't really, and I hate to be judging people, but I'm going to judge him in this moment. I'm just telling you all the truth. This is exactly what came through my mind. I was like, does the dude actually have a job? Because he don't look like he really employed to me. I don't know, unless pulling up your pants and pulling out your crotch qualifies you for this awesome job these days. So hold on, let me just pull this up here. I'm going to show you guys this. Which, I mean, it's possible these young people can find employment in all sorts of unusual ways. Only God knows. Maybe that's like the Michael Jackson job where you go around grabbing your crotch all day, and somebody's going to pay you for that. So I looked at it, and my first inclination was, who is this guy? And then I thought, and this is why I'm addressing it, right? I make no apologies for defending Cayman. None whatsoever. Listen, if you know me, one of the quickest ways to get under my skin is to start making generalizations about this country and making them negative generalizations. And I'm going to tell you why it gets under my skin. Because I've had the privilege to live, and it is a privilege to live in somebody else's country for 15 years of my life. I literally grew up in the States, right? When I came back, everybody thought I was an American. They're like, oh, who's this American? I'm like, nope, don't get it twisted. I'm a Caymanian. And when people start talking about Cayman and they have the most negative things to say, I'm not delusional. I know that we don't live in a perfect world. We certainly don't live in a perfect island. But for me, Cayman is still like the best place in the world. It really, really is. And that's someone who has a perspective, who has actually lived somewhere else. I find it amazing when people go to Miami for a weekend and then they come here, or maybe they've only lived one place ever, and they come to Cayman and they have the most negative things to say. So let me show you the video first. And I'll read it for people on air, because I'm aware that obviously our on-air listeners can't actually see the video, but here it is. So it says, living in the Cayman Islands, it's a TikTok video. It says, living in the Cayman Islands is the worst thing I ever did. The money is great, but the people awful. Okay. Oh, yes. And he says, most people here would rather watch you fall on your face and start videoing and laugh. They love speaking about other nationalities. Oh, Jamaicans this, Cubans that, and we the ones building Cayman FR. I guess FR is supposed to be for real. So this is why a lot of people thought that he was of another nationality, because he said, oh, Jamaicans, other nationalities, oh, Jamaicans this, Cubans that, but we the ones building Cayman for real. So I don't know which nationality he identifies with, whether it's the Jamaican or the Cuban nationality. There he goes, grabbing the crotch, pants down below the buttocks. And he says, my point is y'all MF need TF up, need to grow TF up. So y'all figure out what those mean. Obviously profane words. Yeah, well, he looks very mature, doesn't he? Shall we play it just one more time to look at his level of maturity? Afraid I made me sad of sight, wanna see you alive. All right, so was I offended by this video? Hell yes. Yes, I was offended by the video. Like I said, I don't know who the young man is. He probably looks like he could be from West Bay. I'm just saying. Cute face. But he is just doing the most to, this is the worst place in the world. I mean, I'm curious exactly where else he's lived. Now, somebody messaged me and said that he just came back from the UK. And I said, oh, well, why didn't he stay there? Why is he back? I mean, I'm just really, really wondering, right? Okay, let me set a couple things straight in terms of the record, okay? Is Cayman the worst place in the world? Not even by a stretch of the imagination. This comes down to experience, knowledge. Yes, everybody's like, oh, but he's entitled to his opinion. Yes, he's entitled to his opinion, but it doesn't mean that his opinion is worth the TikTok video that it's being recorded on or being showed. Okay. He's entitled to his opinion, but his opinion doesn't make it factual and doesn't mean that it's right. But let's think about this as, sort of objectively as we can. And I always say this, perspective is a hell of a thing. We sit down and complain about the cost of living, inflation, the cost of food, the cost of this, that, and everything under the sun. And yet this is such a wonderful place that over 100 and 40, 35, 38, I can't keep up, nationalities from all over the world have come to the Cayman Islands to try and get just a little snippet of this pie. If this was the worst place in the world, I can assure you, we would not have such a diverse population. We wouldn't have people coming from all over the world to try to come to the Cayman Islands. You don't go to the worst place in the world. If things are that bad, you don't have an influx of migrants trying to get there. The reason why you oftentimes have the influx of migrants is because opportunities, even the perception of an opportunity in this country is by far so much better. Now, you guys know I make it my business to try to educate myself. And last night I was watching one of these YouTube videos about these Nigerian men or Ghana women? Hold on. Let me tell you, it was a BBC special about these women who are being trafficked. Why does that sound completely wrong? Trafficked, yeah. Trafficked. Soka, help me out here. I just had a brain fart. But they are, let me see what this video says. Imported for my body, the African women trafficked. Yeah, trafficked. Trafficked? What the hell? My brain can't get it. To India for sex work. And it's a BBC Africa Eye uncovered the illegal network of women who are being basically sent to Africa for the sex slave trade. Good morning, caller.
Trafficked.
Trafficked. Why am I saying trafficked?
Because you had a
trafficked.
Let's put it. Let's a senior movement. Trafficked.
I know, and my brain is telling me it isn't right, but my mouth is still saying it.
Well, are you dyslexic by any chance?
No, child.
So sounds like a little dyslexia going on there too.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
You know what it is it's when you're multitasking, you're doing multiple things. The brain, the truth of the matter is the brain can only focus on so many things at a time. Everybody tells you, oh, multitask. The brain isn't designed to multitask. It's meant to focus. But in this job, I got to multitask. But thank you, caller. Trafficked.
Okay. And morning to Soka too.
Yeah, she's here trying to keep me in check.
Okay.
All right, dear. Thanks. Trafficked. Yes, it's still, my brain is still like something's wrong. So yes, they're thinking that they're going to have a better life. They're promised jobs, modeling and other stuff, and a better life in different places of the world. Some of them, this says this other one, the hidden lives of house girls, all over the world. People go to the Philippines, Asia, all over the UK, and they are put into situations where they're indentured slaves. And then these young ladies that in this video that I was watching last night, they're told that they owe over $270,000, not dollars, but let me tell you what the currency was. I'm trying to remember now. But the most ironic thing is they have to pay this madam back the money for their ticket. Now that's the equivalent of over $4,000 in US dollars, right? And then when they started doing this investigation and they found out that the madam actually had not paid for the ticket at all. She got it from like some scammer who was using somebody else's fake or someone's credit card to scam and purchase this ticket. So imagine being sold into this world of slavery. and somebody's telling you you owe them over $4,000 for your passage, and they didn't even pay $1 for your package. They scammed somebody else to be able to get you from, I want to say that this might have been, it just said Africa, but it was a specific area, but mostly Kenya, Uganda, Nigeria, Tanzania, and Rwanda is where the women are mostly being brought from. And this particular lady that they followed, she was from Kenya. And they kind of went undercover. And I mean, the girls are like committing suicide, they're being murdered. I'm just using that as an example for how incredibly silly our people are. We have no real concept of hardship. And I know that might sound harsh to some of y'all this morning, but that is the reality. In fact, it has been the opposite. Caymanians have had it so good for so long that is one of the major problems. As Caymanians would say, that would do you. That's the problem. Because we've never had hardship. We don't even know what an empty stomach feels like, right? We don't know what it's like to go without food for days on end. You skip lunch and your belly growling like, oh, you better go find me one oxtail dinner. It's just unbelievable. And for me, when I watch this video from this young man, what I see is a degree of, he just doesn't know anything about what's going on in the world. I don't know how old the kid is. And ungratefulness, right? But to put that narrative out there, and then of course, a lot of young people, especially on Instagram, they're like, oh, but he not lying. He's so right. What do y'all know about the fact that he ain't lying and he's so right? Again, what has your life experience been? You grew up in Georgetown or West Bay and East End. That's all you know. You get a ride every single day to school on a bus, or your parents take you to school. You've never had to walk even a mile to get to school. I mean, it just boggles my mind how Caymanians are so incredibly ungrateful for what we have here. I'm not saying it's perfect. And I'm not saying that we don't have issues that we need to fix. But boy, y'all sure can complain. They give you free lunches, they're not enough. Then y'all start complaining about, oh, the quantity is not enough. My child is coming home starving from school. I'm like, feed your child at home. It's a free lunch, but it's not a friggin' buffet. It's not an unlimited buffet where your child, by the way, who's probably already overweight and on the road to obesity, is eating too much food. Oh, it's not enough. And it not got enough pepper and it not got enough seasoning. It's like, what? We are truly ungrateful. And part of it is that we have, again, not have the advantage of like seeing any real poverty, living anywhere else where you don't know where your next meal is coming from. You know, listen, one of the funny things that I find, because somebody said I think it was a young man, I don't even know, made this comment, oh, Sandy must be making all this money, so she don't understand, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, really? I understand as a person who, when I was in university, truly didn't know where my next meal was coming from, but still understood the importance of an education and did everything that I needed to do to ensure that I got that first piece of paper. Y'all don't even know. And it's so funny when people want to talk about your journey or what they perceive to be where you are in life and what your journey has been, right? So I sometimes you can't even take people on, but sometimes you also have to correct people. Oh, she's living this fabulous life. She doesn't know. Okay. Well, do you know that when I was in university, to make sure that I had a roof over my head, that I went and lived with total strangers to be able to clean their house so that I could continue going to school and have just a place to stay, not even spending money? Do you know anything about my journey? No, you don't. And most Caymanians of this generation and of our younger generations know nothing about that life. That's right. I remember staying with this. They were a little bit country, and boy, it was not the nicest house in the world. They had animals that they were not really taking care of. Just thinking about it makes my skin itch because of the fleas and whatever else was in that freaking carpet. They lived out in Lutz, Florida. Oh my God. I could not wait to get the hell out of there. They were smokers, and I'm allergic to cigarette smoke. The entire place just stunk of, listen. But you know what? You make necessary sacrifices in life for a time. Because I knew this. I'm like, okay, I'm not here to live with these people forever. I'm not marrying into this crazy family. I'm just here until I can get into the dorm because that was my job that I applied for. And I'd gotten the job, but I had a time in between where it's like, okay, you can't go there right now. You got to wait a couple months. And I was just biding my time. And here I am cleaning up after these nasty ass people, right? Because that was the barter, that was the trade. Now, that's not the worst situation in the world. There are people who are in far worse situations in the world trying to make ends meet. I was hustling and bustling, trying to figure out where tuition money is going to come from because I understood the only way to make my life story different than those who maybe came before me is to get an education and to get out of my own way and to get out of that situation. And yet, Caymanians who grew up in good homes with parents that have given them everything on a silver platter still have the audacity to sit down and complain. They have no world perspective. They've never had a hard day in their lives. Somebody was sharing with me yesterday, there was a man who was featured on CMR, and they're like, oh, I'm curious as to why he was on CMR because, his parents, his mom worked so hard. She was always working and giving both kids everything. Now the daughter's a weed head, and the son, what's he getting into? I said, wow. This is what they said. Him and his sister were raised in good homes, went to private school and all, but just wanted to fit in with public school kids so bad. I'm like, that's Caymanians for you, right? Your parents are making sacrifices to put you in school. A lot of your parents put you in private school. They can't really afford it. It is a sacrifice. Something else is giving because of that. And I think one of the biggest mistakes that we make as parents is we don't share these hard knock stories with our children. Like we want our children to believe that they're growing up so privileged and that we don't know hard times. We want to shelter them from that reality. Why? Because most of them are not going to experience it themselves. So the best you can do is just by being adjacent to them, tell them those hard stories. You think my daughter's going to grow up thinking that I had a silver spoon in my mouth? I was walking around Georgetown barefoot. As a child, I think I got enough to eat. I don't even know. But I can tell you that when I made the sacrifice that I'm going to be on my own at university, that was a sacrifice. And there were legitimate times that I did not know where the next meal was going to come from. Or if I had $5, I put $5 in the pot and we would all get together, a bunch of us, and buy an extra large pizza. And that was dinner and lunch for the day. Now, that wasn't sustained. I would never say that I grew up in poverty. Those were not sustained times. Those were, challenging times that were survivable because they were very, very finite. Like I knew this is going to come to an end one day. And yet there are people all over the world who don't even know when their suffering will come to an end. I was never homeless. I could still get a shower. I could still, as far as I'm concerned, life was still good. So when I see people talking about this is the worst place in the world, I'm like, what? The other thing that bothered me about his comment, and a lot of people like to throw this out there, oh, we have built the Cayman Islands. Jamaicans and Cubans and everybody else has built the Cayman Islands, but Caymanians. First of all, you need to learn your facts, right? This is where history becomes extremely important. Learn your facts about who built Cayman. Now, have other nationalities contributed? Listen, we were under Jamaica historically. So we can't acknowledge our true history without acknowledging that relationship with Jamaica. We also can't acknowledge that we have imported a lot of Jamaicans who have become part of our Cayman families and communities. Everyone from the Chief Justice is a Jamaican. Caymanians went to Jamaica to be born so that they could survive the pregnancy. So there has been this relationship between the two islands, even Cuba. I tell you, we have family in Cuba. A lot of Caymanians have people in Isle of Pines. We're connected to Honduras. Does it mean that those people have built our country? Well, it depends on how you define build. If somebody goes to another country to build themselves and seek opportunities for themselves, and in the process of doing that, they set up companies, they become police officers, they become chief justices, and they make a contribution to your country. Isn't that what they're supposed to do as good migrants? I mean, I don't see that as building a country. I see that as, okay, you're building yourself and your family, and by extension, you're building a community. And that's what you're supposed to do. So what we have happening now, though, is a lot of people coming here and tearing this country down. So this young man, when he talks about, oh, we're building the country, the Jamaicans and the Cubans, I say, which Jamaicans and which Cubans are you referring to? Because the ones that have been coming here in the last 30 years, for the most part, are here for what they can get. And the contribution that those individuals are making are very slim to none. And I'm not going to castigate people. Listen, like I said, I have lived in another man's country. I get it. I was there for a reason. Get an education, a better quality of life. And I decided when I became an adult that I didn't want to stay, and I left. Had I wanted to stay longer, past the 15 years, I could have. And I could have built a life there, and I hope that I would have contributed to that country in a positive way. But how many people we have here now who are coming to the Cayman Islands now that are about anything else but themselves? The only reason 90% walk in a friggin' dog is so they can put it in their PR application to get permanent residency or status. They're not about nation building. A lot of people don't care. Now, I want to be very cautious because there are people who genuinely do care. And I always say that if it wasn't for the expat community, some of the NPOs that we have here wouldn't be running at all. But most people have an ulterior motive as to why they're contributing. It's not because, oh, I'm trying to build your country. That's why we have a multi-million or multi-billion dollar money services business here in the Cayman Islands. Because when people earn their money, they are supporting their families overseas. They're building vacation homes and retirement homes. So how you building Cayman if every dime you make goes back overseas practically? Do you have to eat in the Cayman Islands? You have to buy a few groceries. You might, contribute to rent. You consider that building a nation? Paying to live here, contributing something to the economy is building a nation? Come on now, give me a break. DJ Truckin says that boy is a Caymanian. And I got to tell you, if he is a Caymanian, which I believe you, it's so much more egregious because it demonstrates to me that we're raising children who are so ignorant in their existence that they can't even love and appreciate what they have here. They don't even know by comparison what this is. It's like, I would be insulted for sure if he was a foreign national and said that, but I am more insulted that we could be raising a generation of Caymanians who think that way, who would rather defend other nationalities than even his own. And the point that he makes, let me just about Caymanians would rather so you fall on your face and start videotaping and laugh. I don't know where he is hanging out exactly, but I can tell you that every single day I have the privilege of seeing how amazing Caymanians are as a whole. Oh my God, our given nature. I want something to help somebody out. All I have to do is send out a WhatsApp message. This person needs help. Can anybody help? Right away, people are messaging. Okay, I can make a contribution. I mean, there are people who themselves do not have much, who will be like, Sandy, I can give you $25. I can give you $75. So I don't know what he's talking about. And maybe it's just the company that he's keeping why he is so incredibly clueless, right? As to what's actually happening. But we have some of the most amazing people in this country who give to others selfishly, selflessly. So not selfishly, selflessly, right? When they don't have to. So the day that this young man truly does fall flat on his face, again, depending on the company you keep, he will find that Caymanians will come forward and be willing to help him, give him a hand up. I have had the opportunity to see strangers helping complete strangers. Somebody calls me, oh, we need this, we need that. I don't need to know who the person is. I'm like, let's just get them the help that they need. Morning, caller.
Yeah, morning again. I didn't tune in until late, so I can hear you really angst, but I missed whatever it was that you shared with the rest of the world because I wasn't here. I wonder if you could run that again. I just
Sure.
want to hear it.
Yes,
But
absolutely.
listen. I thank you for your spiel this morning and your perspective, which you know I always do. Because it's like we ourselves. I'm not talking about letting the other side know, the side who come here for a betterment. They already know, but that our people should understand how giving we are. When we only had a rosemary broom in the yard, we didn't have rakes. You would have to go up south to find some of them, and not all of them had rakes. But we had rosemary broom in the yard, but we had plenty of breadfruit, bananas, cassava by the door. Civil Orange was out there. Anybody who came could share in that. They didn't even really have to barter. They didn't must have to bring something to get something. I'm much older than you. So I live this. I know this not what mama tell me. And I am so glad that you put the perspective in this morning because we needed that a long time ago. I wanted a fantastical career, and I knew that we didn't have the money. We'd never get it. Obviously, we didn't. I'm sitting down here doing nothing. But I had already made up my mind 17, 16, 17, 18, 19, probably up to 21 years old, that I would try to get off and go to the States to see if I could get in on the gravy train because I was running hot and heavy back in the day. But I always had my mother and my other siblings, and I couldn't really leave them being that person that was there for them. But I had already made up my mind that if I had made it to America and was able to get on that gravy train, what I would do to pay back the country. And I had already made up my mind that I would go work in some veterans hospital
Yes.
because America worships their vets. I would go work in a veteran hospital. If I couldn't do any more than to mop the floor or wash up the dishes, I would pay, and for nothing. I wasn't looking for income from that. That would be my way, in a small way, to pay back that country. And I would have worked 7 days a week. Might not be all day because I would have to work to eat. I would have to find. But
Yes.
every day I was willing, in my mind as a young person, I was willing to be on a shift that every day of the week I would go there and do the cleaning. Not the office work. I wasn't looking for no office work. I was looking for something that I know for darn sure that I could do to pay back the country that would have been giving me.
Yes.
Obviously, it didn't happen for me. But like I say, I would just like to, because I can hear you in angst this morning.
Thank
But
you, my
we
dear.
really Caymanians
Yeah,
listening, because that perspective that this lady gave is the exact perspective. People come here, they get on the gravy train here, and they just do number one and number two on our heads every day. They are ungrateful. That's why I say they are ungrateful. I don't know too many foreign people, and not that good foreign people aren't here, but I can't take my heart can't take to go through to find the one or the two that are decent people. Everybody's here for something. And I want my people to know that we Caymanians, built for ourselves and we built for others. We are not selfish.
Yep.
People came on the airport, and I can talk about this, came on the airport and they came into our homes. Though people didn't charge them a 1
Mm-hmm.
cent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They might have gotten up in the morning and raked up the yard and tried to help out to see what you were doing, and they would offer their help. I'm not gonna say no to that. That is a fact. They would be helpful about the place, and they wasn't thief or toucher back in the day then either.
Right.
But they came from the airport. They walked from the airport with one little jingle on their head, and they came to any yard and they asked for a night's lodging. That night's lodging probably turned into 6 months lodging there, and lifetime friends of families, because we gave total strangers a place to lay their heads. And I'm old enough to know that. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
And
my
thank you
dear.
for your perspective again.
Thank you too. Yeah, this is something that I am very passionate about because, like I said, I do believe that every single Caymanian should have the opportunity to live somewhere else. When you don't live somewhere else, and someone said, "Oh, he just came back from the UK." I don't know where in the UK he was, but that was probably all of 2 months or 6 months, or whatever, right? When you really haven't lived anywhere else, you have a very limited perspective on life, right? So you can say, so to the college point, let me recap what this is all about. This young man released a TikTok video, and this kind of set off a little bit of a social media storm yesterday because I went live on Instagram and I addressed it. And a lot of the young people are like, "Oh, but he's right. He not lying. He not lying." And I'm just like, oh my God, where have we gone wrong with our young people? So he did this TikTok video where he says the following. He says, "Living in the Cayman Islands is the worst thing I ever did." And he makes it sound like this is a choice, which, I mean, if he can go to the UK, then clearly it is a choice. Go back to the UK. Right? But the way in which he worded it, some people got the impression that he wasn't from Cayman, and that's why he was saying these things. Now I'm understanding that he's a Caymanian. Maybe his parentage is, I don't know where they're from, but it's just so incredibly ungrateful. So he says, "Living in the Cayman Islands is the worst thing I ever did. The money is great, but the people awful." I have so many questions for this young man. What exactly do you do for a living? Where are you getting great money from? I'd like to know that, because I feel comfortable in saying that I doubt you have, I mean, maybe you work construction. And I mean, maybe I'm judging him a little bit too harshly. Maybe he's a construction worker and making great money, but he doesn't really look like someone who, is presenting himself as a skilled person, if you know what I mean. And yes, we judge books by the cover. So anyway, he goes on then, with the pants down, like I said, below the behind, grabbing his crotch. And he says, they love speaking about, oh, did I skip a line? Okay, so he says, the money's awful. And then he says, most people here would rather watch you fall on your face and start videotaping and laugh. And then he goes on to say that they love speaking about other nationalities. At least he can spell, chow, or he had spell check. Oh, Jamaicans this, Cubans that, but we the ones building Cayman for real. And then he says, my point is y'all MF need to grow TF up, which is so ironic that he's telling us to grow up when clearly he looks like he's all of 12 years old and he needs to do some growing up himself. So this got under my skin because I think the first point is Caymanians themselves can be so incredibly ungrateful and have no clue, perspective-wise, how great this country actually is. And also for him to sit back and think that other people built this country. What do you know? Let's think about it, right? I wonder if this young man has ever gone to a Heroes Day and see all of the Caymanian names that are called every single Heroes Day ceremony. We talk about the Caymanians who built financial services, who have built the tourism industry, who, sacrificed tirelessly, who started businesses. Have there been others who have been part of that? Yes. But again, people don't come here and just give of themselves for no reason. They're going to start a business because it's going to benefit them. So by extension, if it benefits the country, then great. And the fact that other young people will be sitting there talking about, oh, he not lying though. He not lying though. You know he talking about, I'm just like, really? I feel like as a country, we've missed a beat. We've done something wrong here. And every single day, I have the opportunity, so I can speak from personal experience, to see how amazing Caymanians are. By and large, we are honest people. Every day, somebody's finding a wallet. Up to yesterday, somebody found a diamond ring. They sent a picture, Miss Sandy, help me find the owner. Wallets, everything's returned. Right? I talk about the story of the Filipino group who found the man's $10,000 plus jewelry, passport, cash. And that was turned in untouched. And you talk about, oh, when you fall flat, honey, when you fall flat in this country, there may be some people who are going to record it. That might happen, but that'll happen anywhere in the world right now. You are more likely in this country when you fall flat to have someone who's willing to pick you up. And I should say, as a cautionary tale to young people, when you are doing your part, you can't keep falling flat because of poor decisions and wanting this gangster lifestyle and hanging out with certain people and think that people are always going to come to your rescue. There is a point in time when the kindness of people does run out. But so many of you that would be unemployable anywhere else in the world, even prisons elsewhere in the world wouldn't even hire you behind because you're so delinquent. You can go to organizations here and people will give you an opportunity. They hear the stories about where you're coming from and what kind of family mix up you in and blah, blah, blah. And they're like, you know what? I don't care. Big shout out to people like Sharon Smith at Reliable Industries. She gives a lot of people opportunities. Even people who have a record of complete failures, thefts, this, that. She's like, okay, well, I'm not going to put them in charge of the money. But you know what? They want a little front office job, or, they want to, help in this part of the business. Giving people opportunities. I see Miss Irma Arch hiring these guys who probably most people wouldn't even give a chance. So you talk about you falling flat, and all you have to do is show up on time to work and do your job. First public holiday, you're going to be sick the day after. It's just like we have somehow managed to raise young people who are too soft, honest to God. And they want everything handed to them. And because they have already had everything handed to them, they still have the audacity to talk about Cayman. Soka said that he even come out of elementary school. I mean, he looks very young, so I don't know how old he is. Selvin says, if he's just here for the money, his permit should be revoked. Again, I understand that he's a Cayman and he's one of us, which is even more insulting. Carr says he looks pretty young. Maybe he's 13 years old with the fake stick-on tattoos. Not even a hair in his chinny chin chin. What a mess. Christine says Cayman is a great place to live, but expensive. Even that is relative. Expensive compared to where? The average rent in New York is $5,000 a month. The average rent in Cayman is what? And I'm not trying to say that we don't need to address the increasing cost of living just like everywhere else in the world. And we don't need to dig deep and delve into, yes, we need to do all of those things. But compare it to other places in the world. And for $5,000 in New York, you ain't getting much. In the Cayman Islands, for $5,000 in rent, if you're paying that in rent, you're still getting a really decent big house where you could probably have 6 people in the house and split the rent and be able to afford it. Real Deal says you have to consider the source. I usually don't take serious anything that comes out of the mouths of lazy, uneducated, self-entitled, or just downright stupid people. They tend to blab off a lot. Well, the problem for me, Real Deal, and I'll tell you why I decided to address it, because I agree with you. And that was my first instinct, is like, ugh, this kid is just looking for attention. But I think it becomes a teachable moment. And we need to take more of these teachable moments, especially when it comes to our young people. So ignoring them and their antics, as they may be, also helps to perpetrate the idea that the things that they say have some merit, right? I get it. It is his opinion, and he's certainly entitled to that, because everybody got one of those. Doesn't mean that it's right. Doesn't mean that it carries any weight. But amongst young people, this is what you have to understand with them. Amongst them, right? They're all geniuses. Every one of them holds a PhD, honey child. And so, one of them says something that they all think is brilliant. They jump onto that. Yeah, my boy said blah, blah, blah. And if nobody else is contributing to the narrative, if nobody else is saying, hold on a second, we need to educate our young people. If this is genuinely what they're thinking, if this is more than trying to get attention for yourself, let me correct you, right? Show me, you say Cubans have built Cayman. Okay. Show me how they've built the Cayman Islands. Right now, all the Cubans that we have coming here are coming here out of desperation. They're looking for political asylum, although we know it's economic reasons why they're coming to the Cayman Islands. They are relying on NAU to give them housing, give them pocket change to be able to make those phone calls, right? Assist them with their everyday meals. Y'all saw the video from last week. One guy walks away with 8 plates of food. And so this young man, when he's talking about, oh, these people are coming here building this country, I say step off. Step off for a minute, because you have no clue what you're talking about. The millions of dollars that the Cayman Islands government is spending right now before we can repatriate Cubans back home could be millions of dollars that if we weren't spending on that, could be going back into programs that could help people like this young man. So when he's talking foolishness about people coming here building this country, I was like, really? Because if you're costing us millions of dollars and you're not contributing anything, in fact, when you get all up in your feelings, you're out protesting on the government steps, making us look like a bunch of fools. So many of you are incredibly ungrateful, just like this young man. You're commandeering a Panamanian ship in Cayman waters. Our government police resources had to be used to go and storm this ship. Our people saved your child from a certain death because the child was burning up with fever because of negligent parents. These are the people that you're telling me is contributing to my country, and I mustn't get insulted when you say BS like that. Of course I'm going to get insulted. And so, real deal, I agree that a lot of people just talking just to hear themselves talk, but we also have a responsibility to set people straight and to try to maybe through that process actually educate them as well. So Real Deal says, Bill Cayman, ? This false claim as if people come here and work for free. If they were building up countries, why not go to Haiti and help them out? Bet not, but there is no money there. Exactly. People talking about, building a country. Really? Please take several seats. So DJ Trucking says, yes, he's from here. He's just trolling. I get it. Dawn says, the Cayman Islands makes me an independent woman. Thanks be to God. Emma, good morning. Irvelyn. Thank you so much. Selvin said, well, Sandra, he tricked you. He seemingly was looking attention. And now Sandra's program is talking about him. Yeah, you know what? Let's give him his 15 minutes of fame. Let's give him the attention this morning, because again, for me, it's more about, I don't know who this young man is. And it's not really about him. It's about the sentiments that he's put out there about, this country. And so I can't allow those sentiments to go uncorrected. I mean, I don't know how many followers yet. I'm not even on TikTok, so I don't know how many people saw this video. But even if one person saw this and thought, oh, wow, that's what the Cayman Islands is really all about. No, honey child. We need to correct that. Jonathan says it sounds like he's making good money, so I don't give a bumaclot about his feelings. I would like to even know what his definition of good money is. And he needs to tell us the formula. How do you make good money looking like him? Do tell us. And Jonathan says that he needs to pull up his pants. I mean, like I said, tell us the how that works. We all need to know that amazing business plan. Soka says, can't believe how people complain about school lunches. Fix your children's school lunches then. It was something I totally enjoyed doing. She says, I hate at Lutz, Florida. Oh, God, trust me. It's the only time that I've really stayed in the area. And like I said, I was glad to get out. Cayman Hard Life is waiting in a new Nike shoe, and mommy not able to buy it until next month. And they have 5 more shoes that they don't like anymore. I mean, it is a level. And like I said, parents have to take responsibility for this, because I feel like we have done an amazing job at a lot of different things. But when it comes to children, we have failed them in some really key and critical areas. And some of the key and critical areas in which we have failed them is the fact that they grew up with such a privileged life that they don't know anything about hard work. And I get it. Like, you don't want your children, like, do I want my child to have to go to Florida and live with total strangers and Lutz cleaning their nasty ass house in order to pay for education? No. But if she doesn't understand that there's sacrifices that I had to make so that she can have a better life and not have to go through those things, then something is missing. And I can't let her have that kind of life. Like, sometimes she's only 5 years old. And I hear her like, oh, I want to live in a bigger house or this or that. And I was like, what? A 5-year-old talking about you need a bigger house? A bigger house for what? And I say things to her. I'm like, Gianna, you're an only child. Do you appreciate the fact that there are people who live in a house way smaller than this and they're sharing it with 4 and 5 children? I mean, I get she's only 5, but if we don't start conveying these messages even at that age, right, our children will never get it. And that is the danger, folks, of not correcting children and not giving them some degree of perspective. That's why you force your children to do things that they don't want to do, including, volunteering. Every Caymanian child should have some appreciation of what it is to volunteer, to go and walk a dog that isn't your dog. Because the Poor Humane Society is doing an amazing job, and yet they're overrun with, animals all over the place. Make your children go to the old folks' home. Sit down and read to the seniors. Raising overly privileged children obviously doesn't do the community well in the end, because they go around with this sense of entitlement and this attitude and, unfortunately, lack of respect for people and lack of appreciation for their own country. I hope this young man might reconsider, what he said, because like I said, every day over the weekend, somebody sent me a message and they said, thank you so much. They saw me at a particular location helping someone out who was needing something for their baby. And they said, we saw you, my husband and I saw you, and we appreciate that. It's not even something I like to talk about, to be honest, but they said, we saw you there and we know that you do so much that you never even mention and you never said anything about. I'm like, listen, I'm able to do it because other people helped me. Other people stepped forward. Other people literally took food out of the mouth of their own babies to help a preemie who can't get the right formula. That's the amazing community in which we live. That's Cayman. That is Caymankind. That whole marketing thing about Caymankind came about because we have a kindness that sometimes knows no boundaries. Sometimes it is a little bit detrimental to be Caymankind, because people think Caymankind means you're Cayman fool. Okay, a few final comments. Strong Will says, good morning, Sandy. He must have a Cuban girlfriend. Lady Gangster says, all who said that they're building Cayman needs to build their own country. Well, if they were such nation builders, that would kind of make sense. Soka says, well, the attention that he's getting sure makes him look like an ignorant ass. So plan is backfiring. Jonathan says making money and can't buy a pants that can fit. I think it's choking off his blood flow. The other Jonathan, two Jonathans here, says, I still don't understand how walking a dog can give the credit for permanent residency. That's a whole other discussion, Jonathan. Dion says, Cayman kind indeed. Thank you, Dion. Big shout out to Dion and the Bayanihan Filipino community group. I always support them. When I was there, I heard a few people making negative comments like, oh, why is the Minister of Tourism here? Why are we sponsoring this Filipino community group? And I must tell you, the Bayanihan group of the Cayman Islands does a lot of nonprofit work themselves. They help not just Filipinos in their community, but others who need help. They do fundraising, they do educational podcasts. And so recently, I didn't even know until they invited me on as a guest that they have a weekly podcast. And, they bought some equipment from me. And then I purchased and donated some microphones and some equipment to them because I want them to have the best quality podcast that they can possibly have. As Caymanians, this is what we do. And we don't even think twice about it. It's not that big of a deal, right? We are some of the most amazing people in the world. And I refuse to let anyone, Caymanian or otherwise, try to take away from that. So just a few social media comments, then we'll do our news break and bring our guests on from the NRA. I see that they're patiently waiting. One person says, good morning. Let's spin this in another direction. All these other nationalities that build Cayman also built their own back in their own countries. Cayman never get any free labor from these people. Someone is letting me know that the Cayman Islands Fire Service is having a recruitment drive in Cayman Brac, July the 21st from 3 p.m. until 7 p.m. So I'll stick that up on social media. Make sure you guys know about it. Another viewer to the program says, preach, Sandra. The people who join service clubs and when they get their residency or status, they never see them out in the community again. I think part of the problem is because the previous generation had to struggle. They developed a work ethic and life perspective that makes them resilient. But a lot of them raise their children so that they don't have to struggle like their parents did, not realizing that the struggle is what built that resilient mindset. That's why a lot of children now are entitled. 1,000% what I was saying, and agree with you 1,000%. That's exactly it. And as parents, we have an obligation to, share those stories. That's why sharing our history, having young people sit down and listen, even for myself, when I sat down and interviewed Mr. Norman Bodden, for example, right? And I heard him talk about, his mom who was hearing impaired, who was basically deaf. And he said, if she was born today with the advances that we've had in medicine, that would have been something that could have been corrected. And how that shaped his life. She was a single mother. And you can imagine being a single mother back in those days. Mr. Norman's like in his 80s. So you do the math. Where you would have been like scarlet letter probably, but her father, her parents still supported her. She was able to go and wash people's laundry. By the way, there was no laundry machine. She was doing that by hand to earn a few shilling every day to be able to assist and to pay her bills, right? So we have someone here says that boy is looking for someone to pay his airfare back to the homeland. He probably got that for free. This person says the young man said we build would be silly to be Cayman and then use the word we. Yeah, and I think that's why everybody recognizes that this was just, him trying to, get attention. Another person says our youth are being raised too soft. Talk about resilience. So, folks, at the end of the day, Lady Gangster says the Philippine community is very grateful and keeps out of trouble. Yeah, everyone has a role to play, folks. It is certainly what it is. All right, let's go ahead and do our news break. Big shout out to Kevin. All I can tell you is parents, do your part. Try to raise children that appreciate what they have, that are actually grateful instead of being entitled. So here's your news for the day. Stay tuned.
I'm Kevin Watler, and this is your CMR Daily Buzz. A loaded handgun along with ganja was recovered following the search of a home in the Tropical Gardens area of Georgetown. Police say on Friday they were executing a search warrant when they found the firearm and drugs. 3 people were arrested, a 26-year-old man, a 45-year-old woman, and a 18-year-old woman, all of Georgetown. The 26-year-old man was charged with firearm and drug charges. He appeared in court and was remanded. The 45-year-old woman was charged with drug charges. She was offered court bail, and the 18-year-old woman was bailed by police as the investigation continues. The Cayman Islands Development Bank has $15 million to lend Caymanian mortgage seekers and is offering qualifying borrowers interest rates as low as 3.75% for 2 years, which is significantly below the current prime rate. The funds are available to buy or build a home and for mortgage refinancing. The CIDB can lend each borrower up to $600,000 for up to a 30-year term. With the escalating cost of living locally and globally, the Cayman Islands government is highlighting actions that will benefit the most vulnerable in our society. The focus is on lower and middle class families, senior citizens, post-secondary students, and others who have been significantly impacted by the cost of living crisis. Over the past 14 months, government introduced more than 24 different initiatives to assist those currently withstanding the worst of the crisis. A few include reducing service fees for seniors, increasing funding of scholarships for advanced specialized tertiary education, the electricity relief assistance package, the extension of the pensions holiday until the end of September, and continuing the displaced tourism worker stipend, which has now ended. For more information on cost of living support, visit www.gov.ky/cost-of-living. The Resilience, Sustainable Energy and Marine Biodiversity Program recently awarded the Ministry of Sustainability and Climate Resiliency more than 1.2 million euros to improve energy efficiency in public sector buildings and government-built National Housing Development Trust homes. The program is funded by the European Union and supports sustainable human development efforts in 12 Caribbean overseas countries and territories. Honorable Sabrina Turner tested positive for COVID-19. Minister Turner, who is mildly symptomatic, will remain at home for the next 7 days. Speaking of COVID, there has been a 13% increase in the number of new cases over the last week. Despite the increase in cases, there was a decrease in hospitalizations. Health experts say they anticipate there is a shift occurring from the BA2 to the BA5 Omicron sublineage in Cayman. However, testing has dropped and stressed the importance for people with symptoms to get a PCR test. Cayman was on display in Canada on Sunday at the Indy Toronto. The Cayman Islands is the official title sponsor for the Porsche Carrera Cup North America. A few months ago, the Department of Tourism and Porsche Motorsport North America announced this partnership. As the title sponsor, the Department of Tourism will have an on-the-ground presence at 8 venues. Now for your CMR weather update, it's brought to you by WG Charters. Sunrise at 5:57. Expect a few passing clouds. It will heat up to the high 80s on average, but the humidity will make it feel much hotter than that. Winds east at 10 to 20 miles per hour. The sun sets at 7:05. When it cools at nighttime, the temperature falls to the low 80s. High tides at 2:03 a.m. and 3:38 p.m. Low tides at 8:54 a.m. and 9:42 p.m. Looking forward, similar weather conditions are expected. It's summertime, so hot days and warm nights with brief, scattered showers. Pretty much your typical summer pattern. CMR weather updates are brought to you by WG Charters. They offer private boat trips for a great price, so we encourage you to support them. That's it for now on the Daily Buzz. Thanks for joining me. Please stay safe and God bless.
All righty, folks, welcome back to the program. We do have the privilege of welcoming representatives from the National Roads Authority with us this morning. Let's give a big shout out and CMR welcome to the NRA. So we have joining us in the studio this morning, Miss Marian Pandui, and also we have Mr. Edison Jackson, who is a senior design engineer. So good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Morning.
Morning,
Yes.
CMR.
Yeah, so good to see you guys. So we're going to talk about NRA related things. Now, Marian, I know you've got some slides and stuff for us. Just direct me to where they're at so that we can ensure that those are pulled up so that everyone can have
Well,
the.
I didn't quite finish with the slides, so
Okay.
so
No
I
problem.
apologize for that.
Yeah, we'll get those next time then. Not a problem.
Yes, ma'am.
But let's talk a little bit about the National Roads Authority. Now, for those who might be listening to the program who have no idea who the NRA is or what you guys do, maybe we start there. What is the NRA?
Well, the National Roads Authority is actually a larger group than people actually think. We don't just build roads, is what most people think we do. We design the roads, we do design and build roads, but we also take into consideration within the roads, pedestrians and bicyclists, and then we try to incorporate all users within our roads, not just the car. That's the one major idea. From my side of view, I'm actually a transportation planner, so I help with the long-term planning of roads. So when the road you see put on the ground is actually probably been in the works for a few years or multiple years as part of our long-term plans. You actually can see off to my right, the long-term road corridor map, the section 26 map, which actually has planned out a multitude of roads across the island that have been in the works since 2005. So it's not just, we just don't put the road down without actually planning it out and figuring out where these roads are going to go. And we actually have a traffic model now that helps us determine where the best place for these roads to go based on traffic, based on population, based on where people are working or going to for entertainment, things of that sort.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay. So again, folks, the NRA is more than probably what most of us think about. They're not just fixing potholes. They are really quite involved in the planning of what's considered a major part of any country's infrastructure, in particular, the roadways. So, Marian, remind me of your title again so that we can make sure we let people know what your area of expertise is.
I'm a transportation planner.
A transportation planner, yeah.
Yes.
So, and then of course, Mr. Edison Jackson is also joining us, and he's a senior design engineer. So, Mr. Edison, what does a senior design engineer do? Is that road design?
Yeah, primarily I'm responsible for the geometric design of our roadways. So, Marian decides where we need new roads, and I basically design the specifics of those roads and how the layout and basically how to accommodate all of the various users that Marian mentioned, pedestrian traffic, cyclists, as well as vehicles and larger trucks as well, right? Let's not forget those.
Yes, absolutely. And we're going to talk a little bit about maybe road safety later on in the program. But, folks, you can check out their website. It's caymanroads.com. And again, that's the website for the National Roads Authority here in the Cayman Islands. So a lot of things have been going on as of late, including, of course, the Linford Pearson widening, which I think is this phase 2 of the project. So let's start with that one. Let's move back a little bit. Let's talk about one that is largely completed now. So the Grand Harbor intersection has been one. That entire roundabout has been under construction, under works for quite some time. And I think it's pretty much done now. Will there be any further tweaking of that? And can you tell us design-wise what has happened at that particular intersection that will assist with the flow of traffic?
Sure. All right. At Grand Harbor, so we've identified a particular section of road that we want to upgrade the capacity on, and that would be from between the Red Bay roundabout and the Silver Oaks or the CUC roundabout. So throughout that section, we've decided to upgrade the capacity of the road to 3 lanes, 3 carriageways in either direction. So we've taken a phased approach to upgrading that section. We started with the westbound section from the Red Bay roundabout to the Grand Harbor roundabout. Actually, we started from Grand Harbor going east first is the first section we completed, going past Peanuts. And then we started on the westbound part of that section. Now we're working between Grand Harbor roundabout and CUC or Silver Oaks roundabout. We've already started some preliminary works there at just in front of the Lion Center and the property adjacent to the Lion Center. We've done some work in and behind the fence, some filling. We've also started drilling wells. And CUC is well underway with relocating some of their infrastructure to allow us to add the 3rd lane, going from, I guess that'd be from Kings to Grand Harbor roundabout. So that'd be the next section. We're gonna add the 3rd lane, and then once we've completed that section, we're gonna go to the other side of the road, which is the side where First Baptist is at, and licensing. So we'll be working on widening that section of road, and once that's complete, then we'll have 6 lanes from CUC roundabout to Red Bay roundabout, which would have been the entirety of that project. So that's an ongoing. That is an ongoing project.
And where do you get, I mean, I'm envisioning in my head that area. Where do you get the extra lanes from? Are you then taken from the property? So say, for example, like where Scotiabank sort of starts there, and then you've got the licensing department. Do you actually take from their property to be able to widen the road?
Yes, we'll be taking some lands from those at Scotiabank. Just to give a reference, the existing sidewalk will be sort of pushed right up against their standby generator that's there. So it's really tight quarters that we're working in on that end. So but I guess that's where we stand from there.
Because you can see it on the other side already.
So we have a bit of like on First Baptist property, the ponds would need to be filled in a bit more, and our guardrail and sidewalk moved back just about 12 feet, right, to accommodate the extra lane.
Okay. All right. Now, one question for you. At the current roundabout by Grand Harbor, you guys have still maintained that, when you're going to South Sound, you kind of have to look, you have to do it's a bit of a neck crooked maneuver, but you have to look to your right to see if anyone is trying to join from the right. So they could be coming like from the roundabout and trying to then merge and go into South Sound. Will you maintain that at all? Or are there some thoughts of maybe kind of, making some amendments to that?
With the Grand Harbor roundabout.
This is the one where you like take the far left lane, but people can still come into that. So you've got to be very careful and ensure that you're actually looking to see if there's any oncoming traffic.
Yes, I understand what she's actually talking about, that row of delineators as you approach the roundabout. Right. So because of the phased approach of the project, once we've completed the next section, that lane will also be a through lane, so we won't necessarily have to delineate it that you can only go to South Sound. So
because basically you just have to decide coming into that intersection where you intend to go
beforehand, right?
Which you should do.
Which you should do at all times, right? You should plan your routes and try to get in the correct lanes early. I mean, that's always encouraged. That's the source of a lot of accidents, actually, when people are trying to switch over at the last minute. Make a squeeze that they shouldn't be doing.
Yep, absolutely. All right. So this is one phase of the project. And then, of course, as you continue on, I see quite a bit of work happening on the opposite side now, all the way down Linford Pearson, going into Bobby Thompson intersection. So tell us a little bit about what's going to happen in that area.
So in that area, we will be So the Bobby Thompson roundabout at this point in time is a small roundabout.
Mm-hmm.
We will be replacing that with a much larger roundabout. In fact, it'll be the largest roundabout on island, just about twice the diameter, twice the radius of all of our existing roundabouts. So we will be constructing essentially 3 lanes in either direction between the Bobby Thompson signal and the Agnes Way roundabout. The Linford Pearson itself has been designed for a full build out of 3 lanes in either direction, but at this point in time, we've only built 2 lanes. But for the section that we're building now, we're going to go ahead and build out the full 3 lanes for that section. And then one of our next phases will be adding the 3rd lane on the Linford Pearson. Is one of our next upcoming projects in the next 2 to 3 years.
Wow. So we do have some questions that are coming in. Someone says, do they plan to extend the Bobby Thompson to Outpost Street? Wouldn't that increase traffic at Outpost, a residential area? So Outpost that's going towards Windsor Park?
Yes.
Yes.
We are building a connection into Outpost Street, and that will only further increase the connectivity in the area, and will actually get some relief for Fairbanks Road, which handles quite a bit of school traffic and residential traffic at the moment.
So probably they might more likely be split. The traffic will more likely be split between the two on Outpost, and you still can hit Fairbanks. Just be between the two for mostly for the school traffic at that point. Yeah.
Okay. So there will be some road works going into Windsor Park?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Just into Outpost.
Yeah.
Where it's tough to describe where it ties in.
That was one of the pictures on my PowerPoint. Which
so next time we'll have that ready, because sometimes it's hard to visualize. Yeah. Okay.
It's on the and it's the main picture on our website, right on the front of the website.
It's on the website.
Actually picture it on the yes, on the Cayman Roads. You can see it right on there. It's on the front page.
Okay, let me just pull up the website here and have a look. So folks, don't forget that you can call into the program at any time. 936-2626 is the telephone number. So this is the website. So is it this one here which says view the project for the Linford Pearson Highway widening phase 2?
Yeah, go to Linford Pearson Highway phase 2. And then you can just go to the boundary plan 615 with the aerial. Click on that and you kind of can see the configuration.
All right, let's see if we can pull it up here.
That one, yes. Click.
Oh.
That one.
The link is not working.
Well, I just clicked on it.
Oh, it's I see what's happening. It's actually it doesn't open another web page. It opens a PDF. Okay, so hold on.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can open it then. Okay, there we go.
There, yeah. So that's what it looks like.
Right.
So this is so this roundabout here, this is the one that you're talking about that's going to be the Bobby Thompson roundabout?
You can actually see it taking shape now.
That's a much larger roundabout there, yes. And you can see the smaller one just off to the right. Or to the east, I think.
This one that's almost off screen.
No. Just to the right of the larger roundabout, is Bobby Thompson Way.
To the right, my right.
There we go. You have your cursor on it there.
Yeah, the little existing roundabout there.
So that's how small the existing roundabout is there. That's that little dot.
Oh, that little thing right there. Yes, I see it.
So that gives you an idea of how much bigger we're going with the roundabout.
Wow. So does that little roundabout disappear entirely then?
Yes, it does.
Yes.
It does.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. So let's just understand this plan a little bit here. So currently we're coming down this road here, like all the way here, and then we get onto this roundabout, right?
You got it.
Right, yes.
Ah, okay. So then that
So
road,
now
will
we're
this,
getting rid of that zigzag with that stop. Where just south of where you have your cursor there.
mm-hmm,
That's where you have to zigzag through Fern Circle. That's always a bit of an awkward drive, particularly for larger vehicles. So
mm-hmm. Okay. And so then this portion over here, this would be down behind like Fairbanks and that area.
That's Linford
no,
Pierce.
that's actually Linford
This is,
Pearson. So that's the piece
oh,
across the
I'm
horse.
confused.
So that's the
I
horse riding school.
see. Okay,
Right.
I got it.
Fairbanks is down low south.
And then
Yes.
Fairbanks is south, just off the page to the south.
Okay. So this road is the current road that we take to access this is Linford Pearson direction. Okay, got it.
Exactly.
All right. I was kind of thinking it was coming from this direction. Now I see.
That's Bobby Thompson, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I see. This is the down this way then is the what's it
That's
called?
where
The farmers market.
yeah. To the north of that is the farmers market, correct?
Okay. Right.
North on.
Because remember
Right.
the signal first, and then this farmers market. To the
Yeah.
north.
What is in this area right now? Isn't that a CUC building or something?
No, CUC is down.
They're
down
just
a little bit.
just to the south. You can see
That's
yeah,
down
right
here.
there, 289. That's the CUC.
You can actually see the major roundabout. It's actually, we didn't take any of the trees out. You can see it taking shape.
Yeah,
And actually, it looks.
We've just started to cut the circle into shape.
Mhm.
So you can just kind of make out the shape of the circle now if you walk the site.
Right. Now we have a lot of roundabouts here, and I've always been curious about this. Obviously, that's a very English planning system. Is it
Yes.
really more effective than just stop signs and a stoplight and four ways?
Yes, yes, absolutely. Roundabouts are very safe. You don't have T-bone collisions or head-on collisions. Those things do not happen at roundabouts. They easily assign priority. They have no running costs. There's no electrical bill to pay, no light bulbs to replace with the traffic signal, no traffic signal controllers to replace when they get damaged or hit by a vehicle.
They function after hurricanes.
Yeah, they function after hurricanes. There's just numerous benefits.
Yeah,
to
it's just
roundabouts.
people just need to learn how to use them. That's probably the biggest.
Look how many legs this roundabout has. 4 legs coming in, into one area, and the roundabout assigns priority to all of those legs. And you can imagine if that was a 4-way stop, and you have 6 lanes coming to a 4-way stop.
Right.
That'd be very interesting.
A massive signal.
So this roundabout, you said it's going to be pretty much double the size of any existing roundabouts. Am I looking at this correctly in actually seeing that it's going to be a 3-lane roundabout?
That's correct. So just like Grand Harbor is now, just like Red Bay roundabout is now, just like Camana Bay roundabout is, be a 3-lane roundabout.
All right. We need to do some educating on how to use roundabouts before that opens.
Yes, we do.
Ooh, that's always a tricky one. All right. Some more viewer questions coming in. They're asking about the King's Gym roundabout. When is that one going to be completed? Yes.
That one is probably about 2 years away from completion.
It's out, yeah.
Yeah, because
2 years.
Because we're doing those widening of in either direction now. So we're adding the other lanes first, and then once those are complete, then we're going to start work on the roundabout. And then the roundabout itself is probably going to take about a year to 18 months. CUC has quite a bit of work to do as well, to facilitate what we're doing there. So they're making all of their preparations now. To start their work soon, so that we can then come along and start our work. So there's a few things that have to happen before we can get onto that roundabout, and that's just where it sits on the schedule. That's about 2 years out. and then that would fall in line with
The Kings.
the widening of the Linford Pearson also, right? Which is just about the same time frame.
Right.
So then we'll have a full 6-lane highway from Bobby Thompson Way all the way to Red Bay roundabout in about 2 to 2.5 years from now.
Mm-hmm. And that roundabout will end up going behind Kings? Where does
No,
that?
it'll be just about in the same location, but we're changing the shape of it from the circle that it is now to almost like a peanut type of shape. And that's specifically because we're trying to fix some of the speeding that was happening on that exit onto the Linford Pearson. So we're gonna use some geometry to kind of force people to drive the correct speeds, if that makes sense.
Okay. Jonathan says, I don't care how much they widen these roads, they could put in 10 lanes, it's still going to bottleneck on one road. So speaking of that, again, we're not the experts here, so we're here to learn from the experts who are joining us from the NRA. We've got road planner, city planner, we've got obviously a road engineer. So they're the experts. So let's rely on them to tell us how exactly this works. So do you mind telling us what studies or how do you guys decide? I'm assuming there's studies that are done, traffic studies and so on, to determine what to do in any particular area, like whether or not you're going to use a roundabout, maybe an overpass might be considered, any traffic lights.
So throughout our entire road network, we have specific locations that every year we put out traffic counters for about a week to do traffic counts. And in that way, we can monitor the growth of traffic. And we can see in some areas, traffic is growing faster than in other areas. And that's a simplified version, right? But basically we use these traffic count data. The traffic count data doesn't just count traffic, it also gives us an idea of how long the rush hour is, how long the traffic period is, and other bits of information as well, how fast traffic is moving, those sorts of things. So there's other information that those counters collect. But we use the traffic count information to basically identify where we have problems with capacity. And in those areas, we look to increase capacity. So we'll be looking, sometimes it may be a particular junction may improve the capacity in the area. And so maybe we'll upgrade to a roundabout or some other junction style that'll improve the traffic in the area. And other times it's adding another lane of capacity. And, so essentially that's what we do. Now, not just traffic counts, we have, Marion kind of mentioned it earlier, but we have developed a virtual model of our entire road network, in which we feed this traffic data into, and then we can manipulate that network to see what if we make changes in the road network, how does that affect traffic in other areas on the network? And in that way, we can decide where we should be widening roads, where we should be upgrading roads. And that is how our money and where we should be directing our funds to maximize the benefit.
Now we've got Ruby who has a very simple suggestion. I think Ruby will be probably quite glad to see that this is coming. She said, just get speed cameras. So I think the governor has mentioned, and maybe even the police had mentioned, that there's some that are already being installed and more will be going up as well. So is that anything that the NRA gets involved in, trying to assist the police in, catching people who are perhaps misusing the roadways or causing too many accidents and that sort of thing?
Yeah, yes, we do actually work with the police in regards to speeding and any type of misuse of the road. We actually work with and we try to get the stats from the police in terms of fatalities and collisions and major collisions to figure out whether there's something from our end that we could do if at a certain location, whether it was something on the side of the road, whether it's the configuration of the road, etc., We actually, yes, we do work with the police in regards to that. If it is something that we can fix, we will endeavor to do so. If it's not, if it's more like most of the accidents mostly have been single accident speeding, then we maybe need to work a little differently and maybe redesign the road to make them, like with West Bay Road, we looked at making the lanes a little bit more narrow, and adding a median or adding bike lanes and adding sidewalks to help slow people down. There are measures we can take to help slow people down, because that seems to be the major issue on the island is speeding.
Speeding. Yep.
Yes, so we do, yes. The simple answer, yes, we do work with the police in regards to those issues pretty closely as of late. Yeah.
Awesome. All right,
Because there's
folks.
been a
so
lot of
send it-
accidents this year.
Yep. My goodness. Trust me, it's crazy. So folks, send in your questions. We do have a few more that are coming in by way of WhatsApp, and you can also call 936 Bobo is the number. Let's look at some of the chat messages here. Miss Ruby says, what's that big mess down by the airport? What's happening down by the airport?
What big mess?
I don't know. Ruby, you might have to be more specific. Are there any road works going on in the airport vicinity?
Besides the ACR?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know.
The airport connector road is under construction down in that general area. Is that what she's speaking of?
Yeah, I'm not really sure. Ruby, try to be a little bit more specific. KK says the sidewalks in the middle of the highways, it's crazy. You should have designs. We don't have sidewalks in the middle of highways, do we? We
No.
have
medians.
Yeah, they're not sidewalks.
People walk down the medians. I know.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, KK, they're not really, those are not sidewalks. Salvin says, can you ask your guests what's the difference between our roads and the roads and paved infrastructure in the UK that's now melting? So this is kind of interesting because we heard this morning, we were talking about the extreme heat in Europe, and they were saying how like the airport, like one airport had to close, another airstrip, there was a military base airstrip had to close because literally the airstrip was melting. Of course, we're also not experiencing 102-degree heat, despite what we might think. So, it's quite extreme weather, but is the material that we use for our roads able to sustain extreme heat conditions? Like if it goes up over 100 degrees Fahrenheit?
That's an excellent question. I mean, we're using the same, the same materials. It may be a different mix design, and it's designed for these temperatures as well. So, I mean, just based on the design, there's a bit of
I guess it all depends on the mixture of the aggregate per the oil. I don't know.
That does happen, particularly with fresh asphalt. Because it takes a while for it to really oxidize and stop flowing. So
I think the bottom line is we don't necessarily know yet because we haven't had those types of temperatures here.
Yeah.
We do sometimes have problems with the cat eyes. They tend to move because of the heat. They don't stick to the grounds. We do have that issue. But
the heat is an issue here, and particularly in some instances where they maybe add too much bitumen in the hot mix. Then when it heats up, sometimes you'll see the actual lines on the road start to migrate, and that has a lot to do with the heat and having just a little bit too much asphalt in the pavement.
All right, so we had someone who joined in.
That's a known issue. So.
Yeah, so we had someone who joined in late asking about anything about the East End Bodentown traffic. So all of this, although it's further down the way, if you will, Grand Harbor, Linford Pearson Extension Highway widening, all of that is meant to assist the flow of traffic from the east and back into and out of the east and all around. And I must say that already it has made a difference. The little bit that has been done leading into Linford Pearson from like by the horse stables from Georgetown, because even my aunt was saying to me, she's on Crew Road And before, although she lives right on Crew Road by the airport, it would take her 45 minutes to get from town to Crew Road. And now she can do it like in 10 minutes with, relatively no traffic in rush hour traffic in the evening. So every little bit helps. I mean, I don't think that, continuing to build roads will be an absolute solution, folks. The NRA has some role to play, but obviously your elected officials and government and others will continue to make recommendations to the elected officials about what else needs to be done when it comes to traffic management. So Ruby is inquiring about who decided to put a hut in the middle of the roundabout and chairs, a bit dangerous considering how many people smash into them. So I think this is maybe this is the one yeah.
I mean, here it is. Oh.
Yeah. So explain to us how roundabouts work, because I know that roundabouts, but maybe a lot of people don't know this, that roundabouts are sponsored by private entities. So tell us a little bit about that.
Most are sponsored by private entities. That was the Island Heritage one. Obviously, we have the Dr. Tomlinson roundabout. Actually, going from east, we have Dr. Tomlinson roundabout. We have this Grand Harbor roundabout, which is now, that one changed. It's now Century 21. And then you have CU has that roundabout. And then we do have sponsors for the new roundabouts coming online already. The longest one that's been in place is Butterfield, right outside our door. They've had that roundabout. They've done sponsorship for that roundabout about 20 years or so. So they were the first to start. They're very simple, nice design. They're 5-year contracts. They actually have to put in an interest to a particular roundabout if it's available. Sometimes we have 2 or 3 people who are interested in a particular roundabout, and they actually send in an interest letter, give us a proposal for a design, and we actually, the NRA, in conjunction with the ministry, and sometimes the board will take a look at the particular design and see if we like it, we'll make comments, etc. Thing is, the only thing we're looking at mostly is safety on a particular roundabout. And we actually do ask for depending on the size, a 10-foot, 20-foot buffer between the edge of the roundabout and the center. So there will be nothing. So there's some sightline to your right. So there'll be nothing within that buffer except for grass or low gravel or something like that. But there will be no structure of sorts within that buffer around the roundabout. As long as it meets our safety standards, a 5-year contract is signed with that particular entity. And then we actually relook at it every 5 years. At each roundabout, we relook at every 5 years. And most of the times we'll re-sign them as long as nothing is going wrong. Island Heritage has had that particular roundabout for a number of years now. And C&D's
so I think,
as well. They've had that for 2006.
Absolutely. And I think maybe Ruby.
And it takes it off our books. We don't have to maintain it. And it looks nice. It's a nice beautification project. It makes it you actually can look forward to looking at the roundabouts. Christmas is a nice time for those particular roundabouts. They're all playing against each other in terms of the lighting and design of the particular roundabouts.
Compete to see who can make the prettiest Christmas roundabout.
So that was nice at Christmas time.
Yeah. And I think really to Ruby's point, the problem isn't that the roundabouts are being properly maintained and beautified. It's that you guys need to learn how to drive and stop running into them.
Don't go through the roundabout.
Yeah, I mean, it's a roundabout is meant to go around, not through.
Yes.
So don't blame the beautification of the roundabout on bad drivers, because they're not connected. They'd still be running through it even if nothing was there, I suppose. So KK wants to know about the road that is going from North Side to Newlands. When will it get done or started? So that one is the east-west. And that's a massive project.
So
that's a massive one, right?
So I'm glad to let her know. I got good news for her and I got bad news for her.
Okay.
The good news is we've started already.
Okay.
The bad news is it's an arduous process. So this is one that is going to require an environmental impact assessment as per our conservation law. And we've already started that process. So we've already begun choosing vendors. We've already started with some vendors to collect data that will help to inform the environmental impact assessment. We've started with surveys and topographic surveys and
hydrological studies, traffic studies, which is already underway, right? Because that's something that we do that's kind of ongoing with us. Yeah, because that's a part of the environmental impact assessment as well, right? What happens if you don't do the project? What is the impact? What will happen to traffic in 10 years? Will it take 4 hours to drive to town to get to work in 10 years' time if we don't build the road? So all of these are a part of the environmental impact assessment, and that process has already begun. Now, once that is done, then that will inform the design of the road, right? So once we've done an environmental impact analysis, we will determine if there's any particular things that we need to look out for or avoid or to maintain or take care of. And then we can design our road around that and make it an environmentally as environmentally friendly as we can. So that process has already begun. So you'll hear more as time progresses over the next year or so. But little things are happening with that already here already.
Well, you'll be happy to know, Mr. Edison and Marion, that you guys are very popular. We've got tons of questions and comments coming in for you, both on WhatsApp. And so don't worry, folks. Even if we don't get your question today, they will be coming on monthly now. So this is great news. So no rush to ask them everything in one day. We'll get to it. So there are a lot. Yeah, we've only got a few minutes left in the program. There are quite a bit of questions. So Jonathan has a bit of a comment. So Jonathan says, all that traffic that comes from East End to town is bad enough as it is. When they build that new road and then the new development that will follow after that, what a mess it will be. Well, Jonathan, I'm not quite sure what you're expecting. You can't have your cake and eat it too. So yes, when roads are built, it means that obviously people might, new neighborhoods might come about as a result of the road infrastructure. But that's
Sandra, there's a statistic that I like to throw out there is that Bodden Town has been growing at something around like 7% annually for the last few years. And if that growth continues, then we have to upgrade the capacity in the road network.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's looking at it from the flip end, which may also happen, but the growth is already there, as you rightfully pointed out. And the Eastern districts have been the fastest growing for, my gosh, I've heard about that at least for 3 election cycles now. So that's a long time.
Yes.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah. So Anthony says the major problem is in leaving Grand Harbor, heading westbound, just a nightmare. What plans to make that any better?
So that is a particularly awkward maneuver, and I agree with him, because you're trying to cross 3 lanes, well, almost 4 lanes of traffic, because you have 3 lanes now coming from west, and then that also mixes with the 1 lane coming out of South Sound, and that doesn't leave for a lot of gaps to make that right turn. So we're actually considering a couple of things there. One consideration is to remove that right turn altogether and make you go left up to the next roundabout to make a U-turn to go the opposite direction. Now, I know that's not a popular solution, but we've considered a few different things. And
it makes you go further. It essentially forces you to go up Prospect Way and then loop back around.
Right. Yes. But we obviously couldn't ask people to do that when there was only 2 lanes of road and it's super congested. So as we get it expanded and upgrade the capacity, then it becomes easier to make that maneuver, right?
Right. Crossing those 3 lanes does get very...
Because crossing 3 lanes is tricky. And it's almost 4 because you have South Sound coming into the mix and everyone's putting their foot down as well, right?
Yeah. So for people who are not familiar with what we're talking about, this is if you go into Grand Harbor, and of course there's a couple residential areas and a new commercial building that is going in there. So we can expect traffic, to Anthony's point, to also be increasing. So it's fine for the most part if you're continuing up towards the Eastern districts, but if you're trying to get back into town, coming out of Grand Harbor, it gets a little bit tricky. So Anthony, they're thinking about it.
To further answer that question too, actually, we are so the new roundabout that we're going to be doing at the CUC roundabout at the Silver Oaks or Kings roundabout. We're going to be basically gazetting a new road into the back of.
It is gazetted.
It's already gazetted.
Yeah.
Into the back of what's the name of that road again? Is it Edgewater?
What's back of Careenage? I don't know what that road
I think
is.
it's Edgewater. Yeah,
Like the Careenage things. So the King's Connector.
Yeah, so we're going to be building a connector road from the Silver Oaks or the Kings roundabout into the back of Grand Harbor, essentially. So that'll be another way to make that right turn. You'll be able to go up to the next roundabout to the north through the service road and make that right turn. So adding this service road will add a bit more interconnectivity in the area and just make traffic maneuvers a little easier.
That particular project is up on the website as well. If people want to take a look at it. All of these projects we're talking about are up on the website to look at the particular designs, and if they have any comments or concerns, they can always let us know.
Yeah, you can always call us.
Yeah, call, email, whatever.
Or email.
All right. For the environmental impact study, do we have any sort of experts or consultants that we're working with in relation to that? And how does the public get involved in that process?
Oh, we're just at the beginning stages. There will be times for public comment, etc. There will be public input at certain stages of the project. We're just beginning it now, but there will be ample time for public input within the stages of the project. So don't worry. Yes, there will be public input allowed within that project. We're just starting it right now.
Right.
Just.
So have we hired any consultants as yet, or that's still?
That's still. I think they're still kind of looking at. They were narrowed down, but that's.
The bids are in, and we're working now to finalize the agreement to start. Like I said, some of this initial groundwork.
Right. So someone makes an observation. Take into consideration the weight of a plane at 150 miles an hour touching down with the pavement so hot can only be an issue. Talking about the pavement melting.
That's a different grade of pavement altogether.
Yes,
we deal with.
That's at the airport.
Yes, the airport. So we don't. Yeah. That's the higher. It's very different than what we actually construct.
Okay, so the Godfrey Nixon extension. Someone is asking about design and completion dates for that one.
Yep, the design for that is done. We are actually that is one of the projects that is ongoing on our list. It's we're not sort of hitting that full force, but at this point in time, I think we are working on getting curbs in and utilities in. So you'll see some works happen with that as we go along.
You can go on the website on the front page. This actually capital projects is on there. If the gentleman wants to take a look at that, it's right on the front page, and I think you'll be able to.
Let me just say that I can't believe it that we're out of time already. So our radio listeners will have already gone into the next program. So my apologies for them. I didn't remember to queue up or exit, but hey, that's okay. Listen, tons of questions for the NRA. They will be back. I'll make a note of some of the other questions and just keep them in queue for the next time because they were just coming in. I was checking WhatsApp and the chat messages. So lots of messages coming in hot and heavy. I think it's fair to say, Marian and Edison, that you guys are very popular guests. So they're going to love having you guys back in another month.
So. I do want people to look at the website because it's the capital projects. And timelines is on the website,
so right? We have a schedule. I mean, we only spoke about 2 or 3 projects here today, but we have several ongoing projects, and we have a schedule on the website. On the front page, right on the front page of the website. So you can have a look at that and see if there's anything.
You guys are busy.
Anything you want to ask questions about during our next visit?
All right, sounds good. So, folks, big shout out to the National Roads Authority. They're going to be coming on monthly. So, again, don't hit them all at once with all your questions. There will be more to come. And you can go on their website, caymanroads.com, and you can look at both the capital work schedule. They've got the Linford Pearson Highway widening phase 2, so that you can get a little bit more details on what that is. We've got the Shamrock Road 6-lane widening also included, and they have tips and tricks and everything in between also available on the website. And as you guys have seen, we've actually been sharing a lot of their content on our social media pages as well. We did one the other day. I'm trying to remember what that one was, but somebody said, oh, can you share more of these? Because it really seems like people do not know the rules of the roadways and how to, when to give way and when not to give way. And are you allowed to switch lanes in a roundabout? And I feel like we should do an entire segment on just this one was about merging of lanes, right? So I feel like we need to do.
We're going to be doing more of those things because we actually do have somebody helping us out now with those type of graphics, and we'll be doing those little tidbits a lot more.
For sure.
Merging, how to use a roundabout, things of that sort. Just not all at once, just little tidbits here and there. So
exactly. Yeah, for sure.
Not overwhelmed with them.
And Jonathan is talking about building a bridge. And Jonathan, you'd be surprised to know that they have thought that far ahead. He said they haven't thought about that as yet. They sure have.
Well, we
the
have,
feasibility of building a bridge over the North Sound, cost-wise, environmental impact-wise, and everything else, it's not as feasible as you think. And again, I know we're all road work experts here this morning, but we really are not. And so that's what the experts do, folks. And they sometimes have to speak to other experts because no one in the Cayman Islands has ever built a bridge across the North Sound before, so they want to talk to other people in other jurisdictions who've done similar projects. And rest assured, that's not as easy as putting together, a cassava cake in the oven. It's very, very complex, and it requires consultation with others. And at this point, they've said at multiple public meetings that it's just not feasible. For many reasons, it's just not feasible. So I wouldn't hold my breath, Jonathan, for that one happening anytime soon. On that note, the NRA is having another meeting. So tell us a little bit about your meeting tomorrow evening so that people can come out.
There is a public meeting in Savannah tomorrow night at 7:00. It'll be ourselves, the police, and hazard management will be there, as well as the MPs for that location, including the premier. Will be on site, on hand to answer questions, provide any type of feedback that people want. We'll probably give a little bit of input, give a little information on projects happening in those locations, as well as say the East-West Arterial and Linford Pearson Highway. So that'll be tomorrow night, Wednesday at 7:00 in Savannah. I think it's at the Savannah United Church, if I got that correct, at 7:00 tomorrow night.
My apologies. Okay. Sounds good. All right. Well, thanks very much, Marion and Edison Jackson, both from the National Roads Authority. Folks, continue to tune in. Like I said, they will be back next week. So if you didn't get your question answered today, next month, my apologies. If you didn't get your question answered today, rest assured that you can certainly do that next month and the month after and the month after that.
Yes, exactly.
Yes. All right, wonderful. Well, thank you guys so much for coming on. We know you're super busy. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you, Sandra.
All right.
Thank you, CMR.
Yes, absolutely. All right, folks. So the NRA is busy with lots of capital projects. Again, check out the website. When was the last time you went to the NRA website? They spend a lot of time putting the website together, making the information easily accessible to all of us. So do check it out. And next time, if you have more questions, then certainly we can queue those questions up. Until then, folks, have a beautiful day. Tomorrow is Hump Day Wednesday. We're going to be talking about a number of things that are happening around the region. Caribbean Connection Wednesday. So make sure that you tune in for that. And I think that's all I got for you for right now. So we'll see you guys tomorrow morning.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Cold Hard Truth on Bobo 89.1 FM. Cayman's #1 talk show is live weekdays from 7:30 a.m. Never miss an episode again. Watch anytime on CMR's Facebook and YouTube channels for the latest show episodes. Don't forget to follow us online on our social media channels and visit CaymanMarlRoad.com for all the latest news and community happenings.